Hello, everyone. Thank you very much for ducking in. Spartan Pub. Thank you. Cheers. Thank you for joining us. I've got a special guest today who is none other than Kevin White. I'm just about to bring him on. G'day, Mr. Sorry, I just got to put my headset on. Sorry. Hang on a sec. Because otherwise I can't hear.
Can you hear me at all?
Yep, I got you now. Yep. It just takes a little bit for the Bluetooth to do its connection. Welcome. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having this little thing so that we could have a talk.
My little thing, it's my little live stream.
It's actually pretty well set up. You definitely have a professional setup, so I'll give you that.
You like my stage setting here? We actually live in a shed. I've been doing building, as you can see, with the wall frames. This is just temporary, like MDF board just over the top of the frames, because on the other side is like the workshop area, which is going to become bedrooms as well. But yeah, obviously we don't have a ceiling yet. That's the roof of the shed. But at least it's got some insulation. Like it's up around here. It's where the roof line is. It's quite breezy, like with the winter winds that we get. But you know, like.
So wait, are you telling me that Keith, the crypto farmer, is actually a farmer? What?
Well, you've seen my YouTube, haven't you?
I have. I'm being facetious.
Yes, that is real. Yes, I actually do pat them and I feed them, and I do feed out the grain and hay and all that. Yes, I do all that stuff. Yep. And
fun.
Yeah, no, that's all real and legitimate. Yep, it's as real as it gets. It's just what it is.
Awesome.
But everyone has their own lives. You know, some people are, the prime minister or president, and some people are the people that do other stuff, and I'm just someone in the middle.
I wouldn't sell yourself short, man. Farming is one of the most important things in this country. So
yeah, I know, but all the eco stuff now, they go like bad dairy and stuff. We don't have the dairy; we just raise the calves, and they get all shitty about the dairy aspect. But when I inquired with Grove, being a refi blockchain, you know, they're all eco and stuff, where they want zero carbon and all the rest of it, I was saying to them, well, how does that really work when I'm dealing with young bovine or cattle? And because the do-gooders always going on about the burps and farts, you know, the methane, and it's like, okay, so how does that fit in? And they said, don't worry, your refi project, 100% you're in with us, no worries at all, because that's what you're doing. It's real stuff.
What I don't get about all that is, so they say that it's the carbon emissions from the cows, right? But the problem with that logic is, and you know, I'm not a farmer, but my brother is, and I've helped him out on his farm since I was younger. Okay, and so the problem I have is when you don't even have to have cattle, you could just have crops, okay? And when you plow a field of crops, okay, and they're all dead and they're gonna decay, right? That releases a crap ton of carbon into the air and the atmosphere, because obviously it's decaying, and some of that carbon will go back into the soil, right? Yeah, that is true, but the rest just goes out into the atmosphere. So like the idea that, oh no, it's just the cattle releasing is bullcrap. It's completely
something else. Cultivating soil is not good for carbon capture, because it exposes the carbon in the soil to the elements, and when, like for instance, you get rain falling on the carbon, it produces acid. So you can end up with acidic soils and loss of carbon. It escapes into the air. And so as a general rule, zero till is the way to have, like carbon storage or carbon capture within the
Yeah.
soil. Why, where you've got heavily tilled soils, it's very difficult to have much biomass in the soil. They've got
Yep.
soil, but they don't have the biomass in the soil. If you plow up our paddock, you'll end up with these ugly looking lumps of ground that are fluffy, but you
Yep.
can't do much with it because it's all the biomass.
Yep.
There's all the roots and stuff from all the plant organisms, and that's what gives it such high carbon content. So it's, and I've actually been planting some trees today. I haven't taken any photos or done any footage of it yet, but I'll do that when I get a chance to, because we've been planting some natives. When I say some, we're only planting 5, but even just to do 5 is quite an episode in itself, because you got to basically put in these 4 posts and then wire boards around it and then wire mesh it, because it's got to live there forever, because as long as the tree's going to stay there, because otherwise the cattle or animals ring bark the tree.
Right.
So, it's quite, you've got to build like Fort Knox around the tree to protect you. So it's just one of those things where, like on our farm, we came here and there was hardly any trees. Well, we've put a lot of trees back into the ground because they're needed here for the soil and for protection, and they have their purpose. But not only that, we run organic style. Now, I'm not going big headed here, but we run organic style farming generally because it's cheaper. But we don't have the grazing pressure of, say, a commercial property that's pushing out, like need to get certain amount of head per hectare and stuff like this, or acre, or
Yeah.
whatever you want.
You know what? You know what really gets me about all that bullcrap? Like, honestly, and I wish I was a senator or a congressman, because like these would be the things I would say on the floor. Is like, you people are so obsessed with sustainability that you take it to the anal retentive 11th degree. They'll say farmers like you, Keith, it's unsustainable for you to own cattle and crops because it could be done more sustainably as a corporate farm. You can't own that property because it's unsustainable for you to own that property. It could be better used. Do you know what that's called? That's called communism. That is
Yeah, I know that.
100% what that is.
But that's the whole thing about the economics of scale, like or economies of scale, where you
Yeah.
end up with the small farms getting taken out by big farms, and like instead of
Yep.
having 10 farms produce 100 ton of wheat, you've got one farm that produces 1,000 ton of wheat, and it slowly just takes over like that, where you get those like monopoly on the enterprise, and we've
Right.
seen that in the dairy industry where we are, where the small farmers now are disappearing, and it's just turning more into a corporate enterprise type deal, where you've got bigger landholders or stakeholders within that industry that is buying up all the real estate, and
Right.
it's making it hard for everyone else. So the mum and dad type businesses, and this is happening in the States as well, I know,
Yeah.
where a lot of the businesses now are getting taken over by the corporates. And, you've seen with, even Bill Gates going around and buying real estate and stuff. And, like
Yeah.
some of these, fortunately in Australia, our richest woman, Gina Reinhardt, she owns a lot of real estate and agriculture in the dairy, and especially around even where we live. But she's actually really good on the side where she's actually helping the small people, even though she's owning so much of the real estate. She's the anti-government, you could say, where she is trying to use her power in purchasing real estate into, um, allowing the small people to do their thing and not
Yep.
just be the corporate, like the communist type style that you get, where you end up. Yeah. So we've just had this land claim stuff. How do you put it? This Aboriginal tidal stuff come through just now in Western Australia where we live, which now if you excavate more than 20 kilos of soil, if you're on land over 1,000 square meters, so it's really small, like a quarter acre, and if you excavate like over 20 kilograms or within half a meter of the surface or something, you've got to get, special approvals to be able to get it done, that you're not affecting the heritage. And it's like, so you can't even put in a fence line or something like that.
Jesus.
Yeah, we've gone really draconian now in that sort of, which is
Australia,
what you're alluding to.
Australia is crazy. I've been hearing some stories.
Crazy, but the best. Come on, it's bloody good.
Yeah,
but,
I will say. I will
some of the
say
shit they did was bad.
I will say I definitely want to visit Australia someday. I mean, it definitely like Sydney, for example, like beautiful out there. Definitely beautiful.
I haven't been saying g'day to people. I said to Spartan Pub, Jason, thank you, Whale Miner, Safe Dad, and Zero Cool. Thank you very much, guys. But Safe Dad saying, what about airplanes bad for the environment? I was watching Piers Morgan the other day. Piers, I should say. He had this was a long time ago. He had a vegan activist that he was talking to, and they were saying about how bad beef was and that sort of stuff. But then he brought up the point, well, the thing is that the UK doesn't even produce avocados and almonds, and so they're all imported from like America. You can imagine the environmental impacts of importing that food from abroad. And those are kind of essential foodstuffs, like where you got avocados for their, the fats and stuff like that. For like, if you're going to go vegan, you've got to have, your variety of foods that might provide those elements that you're missing out on with, animal protein. But because the country doesn't produce it themselves, obviously it's all got to be imported. And so it comes with a lot of carbon cost, doesn't it?
It does. It does. And like, the better thing, and I saw a farmer school of vegan on this too, was that like the amount of bugs and small rodents and small animals that get killed in the process of getting those nuts and those here in America that does happen. That happens, man. Farmer Joe has to go get those avocados and those nuts and everything, and guess what? Any little rodent or bug or worms in the soil, they're all getting killed, mass slaughtered.
I know. And it's and you talk about see, with the crops in your paddock, when I'm talking pasture, ideally speaking, you want lots of species of grasses. Some of them are more palatable than other grasses, and some often offer different types of things. Like some grasses are really good during summer, other ones are better during the middle of winter, and but generally every plant has different root structures. Okay, and this is all part of holistic farming, and it's really important to have you try and have about a dozen different species of plants in your pasture paddock. Okay, now a lot of agriculture now is turned into where you just have two species of pasture grass, which is your clover and ryegrass. That's in Australia where we are. And so it seems to be a lot of pastures now are just limited to clover and ryegrass. So you end up with biomass or bioorganisms which are only suited to those plants. So you lose out on so much more of the biosystem that should be living in that soil. And so on our farm, I try and plant as many different species as I can get my hands on. That's why sometimes the paddocks might look a little bit rougher. But that's the way you want it, is lots of different species of plants, especially on our style of farming. It's completely different than the big ones that are trying to get production. The dairy farms need to get, the quality of grass to the best so they can get the best milk, and it saves on their substitute feeding, or supplement feeding, which is the grain and hay. But even so, they're still really well fed on that side, but it just helps. Obviously, grass is cheaper than supplement feeding, so.
Right.
But apparently I heard this story that cows end up being carbon neutral because they're eating the grass that saves a lot of CO2, and then what they're producing in methane and that apparently is carbon neutral. But I don't know how real that is, but I don't know. There's probably some sort of element of truth to it, where it's not as bad as what you might think.
I don't know. I know the carbon thing with cows has been talked about, and like it's just funny to me. But the big one right now, at least here in the States, and I'm sure you've heard it because everyone hears what goes on in America, is all the Democrats are screeching not about carbon with cows. No. The big complaint now is cows take too much water. Do you know how many gallons and gallons and gallons of water it takes to get a cow?
They do take a lot. Yeah.
Yep. And so, like, it's so silly to me, though, because, like, if you actually do the comparison, and I looked this up, the amount of water it takes to, I don't know, completely water a watermelon farm from start to finish, or the amount of water it takes to get a big ass like 5-acre thing of corn from start to finish. Like, it's silly. If you're gonna say it's unsustainable for cows to get water, then it's unsustainable to do corn, watermelon, any crop, you name it, anything. That's silly, because now we're just on a what is it called? Slippery slope of nothing is sustainable, hence communism. And this is why I say their arguments can't be taken seriously, because they're not arguing from a good place of good faith.
And it might come as some surprise that obviously I'm a centre-right person, on the conservative side, because obviously that's what farmers are. They are more on the centre-right than the big wigs that obviously have all life's graces with the fancy house and fancy car, living in a fancy suburb, and they couldn't care less about how much they pay for power. Well, they're the voters that are on the left side. But where I sit, obviously I like me firearms, I like me freedom, I like me ability to travel, I like me stuff, but obviously we're completely different in the States. We don't get all the good stuff like you guys do, but
you say that, but like the US is very much the same depending on what part of the states we're talking about. You know what I mean? Like if we're gonna talk about the South or like the Midwest, it's pretty much the same. Everybody in the South and Midwest lives in these rural areas, minus like, your capital city, but everyone's living in rural farms, little communities and towns with your hardware store and your corner store. And you know what I mean? Like farming, and all of them are center right. That's how it is.
Where I live, we're just known as the redneck part of the state. And so, obviously that's a term that you're familiar with.
Yes.
That's what we're known as around these parts, we're the redneck part. Hence why under certain occasions, me language gets a bit much or something, and it's like, come on, bring it back a bit, tone it down. It's like,
I'm up in Massachusetts, so I'm on the north, and but that doesn't mean there aren't farm areas. Like the town that I grew up in. The town that I grew up in was a little farm town, right? Despite Massachusetts being a densely populated, color blue Democrat state of garbage. And this state is garbage. My home state is trash, 100%. That's why we get called Taxachusetts, because we're one of the highest taxed.
Oh, so you're a blue state.
Unfortunately, yes. Yeah, but like I grew up on a farm town nonetheless, you know what I mean? So I know what it's like to work on a farm.
The blue's going really good for you guys. I just laugh at when I turn on Fox or CNN and I see the two different polar opposites in the news, and it's Oh, far out, man! You guys are so screwed up with your politics. Like, fuck
It
hell.
is though, because I've said this before, and you would think after 150 years since the Civil War that things would be all good, but it's the same as it was then. The South and the North are like oil and water. You can never get somebody who was born and raised in a rural type environment to agree with
Yep.
somebody who is in a big city, political concrete jungle. They have completely different standards of living, and they have completely different priorities politically.
That's why in Australia we've got we've sort of got two major parties, Labor and Liberal, and that's like Liberals like the Republicans and Labor is like the Democrats. But our colors are opposite. Like the Liberals are the blue, which is like the Republican, and the red ones are the ones like the Democrats.
Yep.
But we've also got another party, which is the Greens, and they only have a tiny few members, but they quite often hold the balance of power, and allow that the Labor government to hold power. But they are right in the inner city echelon of the elite class.
Yep.
They're the people that don't care about their power bills. They'll have their electric car. Who cares about the power bills? And they will do all the activist sort of stuff, wanting
Yep.
all this freedom. The environment stuff, and yet they'll have a go at us, but we're the ones that are helping you eat.
Oh yeah. No, again, these people just don't understand what it takes to run stuff. You brought up electric vehicles, right? Like an electric vehicle is fine for average Joe or Jane, but when you're talking about scaling that up to, I don't know, a double wide trailer that's going to be transporting 4,500 pounds of stuff, and it's going to be going from one end of the country to the other. Well, now that doesn't work, because there's no way you're going to get a electric vehicle to, let alone have the torque, right, or the power to pull that, but the range, because it will run out of battery. And then how long do you suppose it's going to take for that thing to recharge fully to get more range? And it just completely destroys the entire supply chain at that point. And I'm not saying we're going to be on gas forever. Obviously, that is something that needs to be, taken care of at some point in the future. But until electric is at a point where it can replace gas without having those issues, replacing gasoline and diesel is silly. It is completely nonsensical to just, yep, we should switch everything right now, do it right now, forever. Where
we live, seriously, where we live, it would, and we've been here for 10 years now. But without joking, seriously, we have had two serious occasions that we needed to get to hospital, which is a long way from where we are. It's the range of an electric car. And one of those times that happened which was the most serious time, happened when we just got back from shopping, and for us to go shopping is the range of an electric car. And so then you get back home with an empty electric car, and then straight away you've got an emergency, which has happened. We did have this happen, and we needed to get to hospital because I was in kidney failure. It was serious. And what are you meant to do? If your car doesn't drive, what are you meant to? Okay, call the ambulance. Yep. All right, fine. There goes a couple of $1,000 and some. Bloody hell! They just charge like you wouldn't believe. Well, all it took was your petrol car, and we've always got a full tank of fuel. So in other words, we can always drive to the hospital and back at any time of the day.
I've got a question. Do you guys have national health care there? Like universal health care in Australia?
Yeah, it's bloody good.
Okay, yeah, because that's what I thought. All right. Yeah, because yeah. I'm sorry, go ahead, keep going.
Yeah. Because of what? What were you going to say? I said bloody good, but were you a negative or a positive or somewhere in
Oh, no, no,
between?
no, no, no. I was just asking because, like you said, it costs a couple thousand because, like,
Oh, because the ambulance is not covered by public health care.
Oh, okay. Because,
Yeah,
like, in America, obviously, we don't have universal health care, and
no.
like they just if you take a like if I was having a heart attack right now, right? For me, it doesn't matter if it's a medical emergency. My bill is gonna be like $12,000, and guess what? The hospital ain't across the city. I could walk to the hospital, and it would take me 5 minutes, but it would still be a fucking $12,000 hospital bill from the ambulance.
Yes, there is some things that cost you money in Australia, yes, but I'll go through. I've had about 15 or so different surgeries.
Oh,
Um,
jeez.
and out of those surgeries, they range from, you know, broken collarbone that's been pinned up,
Yeah.
to me different knee reconstruction,
Oh, jeez.
and various other things that have been done,
Yeah.
and even wisdom teeth pulled out. There's brain tumor, you name it. There's lots of stuff I've had done, and all of it's been covered by our Medicare or public health system.
Huh.
Every single thing has been covered by that. So you just don't get a bill. No bills,
No.
nothing. And you actually get, where we live, we actually get support to help our travel, like to drive in our private car to their place as well, like to the hospital. We get, in Western Australia, we got this thing called PATS, which is patient something transfer or whatever, which
Yep.
when I go and see them, because we're a long way from the hospital, we get paid so many cents a kilometre to go for a drive to the hospital,
Oh, really?
for medical appointments and stuff like that.
No.
Um,
Don't you guys have the waiting list? Because, like, I know
oh
some
yeah,
countries.
oh yeah, no, that's a shit.
Yeah,
Yeah,
because
the
like,
way, yeah, of course, that's
because like,
you can't have that.
yeah, because like Canadians, for example, right? This is the whole like thing. Like in Canada, they have universal health care too, and I've heard this all the time from Canadians that come to the US. They'll be like, I need X surgery. It's not life threatening now, but it could be life threatening in the future. So technically, it's considered an elective surgery, right? So now they're going to go on this waiting list to get their surgery. And instead of waiting, so many months, if not longer than a year, they're like, screw that. And they come to the US and they just pay private doctor to take care of it legally, of course,
Yeah,
and
yeah. That's
yeah.
right. No, that same sort of thing can happen here. Like I'll give you an example. I had a vertebrae, the discs collapse, and so it pinched my sciatic nerve down my right leg. This was the first thing in the beginning of 2020, and I
Yep.
needed to have what was called a laminectomy, which is they take out a piece of the backbone to free up the nerve.
Yep.
Now that happened in February 2020, and this huge shooting pain down my leg. It was just a shit of a thing. But then I was on really high doses of, well, for me, high doses of opiates, and I
Yep.
did a stupid thing. I got actually squashed by a big rainwater tank, and it landed on my leg and gave me a massive
Oh.
bruise on the inside of my knee. But it
Oh.
actually led to something good. This is the whole thing. But without rupturing the skin, it got infected in the bruise,
Oh,
and so
jeez.
it made me sick because it got into my bloodstream and made me sick as all hell. And that was one of the emergencies that I had to get to hospital because I was spewing up. I was just about passing out, and and I just needed to get to hospital. I was totally not good. And consequently, when I went to the hospital, that's when I found out that I was in kidney failure because I was on high doses of anti-inflammatories, and they
Oh.
put me into acute tubular necrosis, which the kidneys can self-heal themselves. It was drug-induced kidney failure.
Yep.
Um, and so obviously I had to eliminate the drugs, go into ICU for a couple of weeks, and they got me back, and I was right. Then I had surgery on my leg, but what happened after that is that I never quite healed properly in the head. And so I'd seen my doctor a few weeks later, and I said to him that, I got this brain tumor, and he sort of laughed at me. And because what sort of patient just comes up and says that shit to you? And then I told him the symptoms, and he said, all right. And I just said, I just need a CT scan. And normally they don't do it, but he decided, yep, no worries, I'll let you do it. And so he let me have a CT scan, and sure enough, they found I had an acoustic neuroma. There's some there's some. Oh, thanks, Jason, for giving me a ring. There's some fancy term for it, but it's schwammer something or whatever, but it's acoustic neuroma. You can look it up. Mm-hmm. It's on the 8th cranial nerve or whatever it is, the audio nerve. Man. That's why I'm deaf in the right ear. But not only deaf, it screams really loud, like it's noisy, but it's deaf. But yeah, I'm not here for the sympathy. That's just the way it is. But when I went to the neuro, that put me on a fast list to see the neurosurgeon. I was on the neurosurgeon's wait list ever since February to see him about my spinal injury, right? And
they fast tracked it. Okay, I see.
They fast tracked me for my head, and so I took me scans with me, and I asked the neurosurgeon while he was waiting for the scans from my brain to download, could you please have a look at these for my back? And he goes, yep, no worries, mate. And I was like, beauty. So he had a look at it, and he goes, oh shit. Well, he didn't say oh shit. He goes, well, you need surgery on your back, like now. It's got to be done. And I gathered as much. I was just glad you wanted to have a look. And then the brain stuff come through and says, oh, geez, you need surgery on that now as well, because that's like, it was at that point where it was critical. And but he gave me an option, which one do you want done first? And I said, me back. Because the head, if you look up acoustic neuroma, they grow like 15 years. They very slow growing benign tumor.
Wow.
But they still stop the cerebral flow in your brain, so they still can kill you, yes. But, it just takes time.
Damn, so like he basically told you needed a double whammy.
Oh yeah. But the good thing about the bad thing about it was when I had the back surgery, they were too late to save the nerve because the wait list was too long. And by the time they did the operation in November, it was too late. And so I've got a lot of muscles in my right leg that don't work. But fortunately, I still have a leg, but there's a lot of muscles that don't work. Like I've got foot drop, and there's a lot of other muscles in there that don't work. You don't realize you've got so many muscles in your leg. But there's a lot of muscles that don't work. But at least I can push down on the throttle, and then the spring brings it back. So I can still use the accelerator. So that's good.
I feel you.
I lost that.
I feel you, man. I actually my right hand, I have no feeling in it at all, like palm, fingers, like a part of my wrist, because when I was much younger, I was like a junior in high school, and I got mad at the teacher, and rather than punch the teacher, which, that's bad, go to jail, assault and battery, that's no good. I decided to punch the window because I had a window seat, and a nice big sheet of glass went right into my wrist. And so here's the thing about adrenaline. When you're angry with adrenaline, you don't realize certain things. So I sat down, right? And it was my buddy Isaiah who said, hey, Kevin, you're bleeding on yourself. And I look down, right? And there's a big sheet of glass in my fucking wrist. And I'm like, what's that hanging out on the glass, bleeding profusely all over me? And it's my fucking artery, just like pumping every time my heart beats, more blood all over me, the floor. And so like I raised my hand and I show the teacher blood all over the desk now, and I'm like, hey teach, I know you're mad at me and stuff, but I think I'm bleeding to death. I said it exactly like that, and he freaked the fuck out. He took his belt off and fucking made a tourniquet around my arm. And like it was funny as hell because like everybody else was freaking out except me. I was pretty chill about the whole
It's amazing what adrenaline does, isn't it? Like it's just like, whatever.
so yeah, and you know, when I got to the hospital and everything, and like they prepped me for emergency surgery because like at that point I had destroyed the tendon, the artery, and the nerves, and so they were able to stitch my tendons back together. And you know, through you know, physical therapy I got movement back. But unfortunately what happened is, despite stitching the nerve back together, they were hoping the nerve would reroot, because even if you stitch a nerve back together it needs to reroot, otherwise you don't get any, you know, sensation. Unfortunately the nerve never rerouted, and to this day my hand remains a giant nubby thing. I mean, I have movement, but I can't feel anything. So, like, if I put my hand on a hot burner, sizzle. If I don't concentrate what I'm holding, drop a fucking water glass and it smashes.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
I was wondering about that, because if you don't have your sensations, it can be hard, you know, functioning with that hand. It's like my right leg, it's like a stump, you know, sort of thing where, but it's amazing how much the bloody thing can hurt, because my foot sits out further. Like normally when you sit, believe it or not, your muscles just seem to hold it in a more backward position. But when you've lost your muscles, then your foot sort of sits out further forward, and it really hurts your calf, your shin, and your ankle, and all of that sort of stuff. So it's like,
I will say,
just stupid little shit things.
I will say the muscles in my wrists do hurt from time to time, lower down, where they're still feeling. You know, so there's, you know, I can definitely tell when my hand like is causing a cramp, because those muscles will get all hurt. But yeah, you know, the biggest thing that sucks is doing my signature. I had to go through a special like class to relearn how to do my signature and write my name like a fucking dumbass, because obviously since you can't feel a pencil, you can't feel the pencil to the paper, and if you can't do that, you can't fucking write nothing. So I had to learn how to basically trace my name through muscle memory, despite not being able to feel anything.
Yeah, no, that's it. Have brain surgery and you got to relearn how to bloody write and stuff like that again. And what a buddy! The first time I started walking after surgery, I felt like I was walking seriously to the ceiling. Like it was a really weird friggin' feeling. I got constant vertigo, and when I do anything that's strenuous, it makes me puff a hell of a lot, and I've even get some complaints on my videos for that. And it's like, geez, guys, like if only you knew what it was like, you know, like the puffing is just because like it just takes it exhausts you with I get sensory overload, like with the really loud tinnitus in my head, and it really fatigues my brain. Like when I'm searching for something, like I want to find a spanner or something like that, or whatever it is, it just the mere thought of it just bogs my brain down and just goes straight into this exhausted mode. And it's like, far out, man, like get a grip. But it's just it's funny with our different ailments how shit happens. But Jason Mercer said about feeding cows seaweed, and in Australia they're formulating that to make and that's part of Grove blockchain as well, where they're actually got a company that's either launching on their blockchain or something to do with it, that is making food additives out of seaweed to feed cattle to reduce their methane emissions. So
that's awesome.
So they're actually doing that as well on the Grove blockchain, and that's where they were saying that sort of ties in with what we're doing. So it's all good stuff, you know. Just obviously keep doing what you're doing. Safe Dad, he's from Tasmania. Tasmania, and he was saying that they don't actually charge for ambulances in Tasmania. So we in Western Australia, we definitely have to pay to the first hospital. Yes, after that we don't have to pay, but to go to the first hospital we do have to pay. And even when it's like we had a kid at school and the hospital is we live like 60 kilometers away, so a fair way. But he needed to go to hospital because he broke his growth plate on his leg, separated the growth plate from his shin. That's only something you could do as a teenager, as a kid, because after that, then it fuses and it doesn't happen. And the hospital is seriously like probably 5 minutes in the car, and that was like about $800 or something like that just to do that. And it was like, oh well, there you
go. I will say there are definitely flaws with the universal healthcare system, but one thing I will say you guys do better than us is taking care of the poor and homeless population, because like this is something that I still find hilarious to this day. Imagine being in poverty, okay? And so you can't afford health insurance. And because you're not disabled, you don't qualify for the state free insurance. So then you go to do your taxes the next year, and you've been a bad boy. You don't have health insurance, so you have to pay the state $5,000 because you've earned penalty for not having health insurance that you can't fucking afford.
Yeah.
And that is the thing here in the US. That is absolutely a thing. They will penalize poor people for not having health insurance, and it's silly. It's silly to me.
In Australia, we do have a similar thing where you get penalised, but they call it the Medicare levy, which is that if you don't have insurance, then you got to pay 2% extra on your tax for the health insurance, for the public health system. But I think it's 2% on the tax return. But when you're over 30, if you're getting health insurance when you're under 30, then you get 100% rebate on that. But if you're over 30 when you first take out health insurance, then you don't get 100% rebate even on that. It goes on a sliding scale. So, it's a few percent a year. But there is some situations where private health insurance is definitely very good. Because it's certainly, the public system certainly doesn't pay for everything. There's a lot of treatments that it doesn't cover. But for me, myself, it certainly covered me for a hell of a lot of different things that I've had done. Yes.
Oh yeah, no, same here.
I'm very happy for that. Yes.
Yeah.
Kevin, what's in the pipeline for PTC?
There is a lot of things in the pipeline for PTC. I mean, like right now, obviously, we're doing the OG mint for the OG NFTs, which is basically just when the project had first started. Obviously, there was only a few hundred people, and they had followed me over from all of the craziness that happened in PGV with Manny having scammed everybody, and I had promised everybody that the PTC token would be supported no matter what, so they were there, and I had said, we're going to do a free NFT for you guys that'll be like a collector's item, it'll have some utility in the future, and so that's what, finally months later, we're able to finally do that. And as for utility for those, we're definitely going to do the faucet. That'll also be for our paid NFTs, and we'll have tiers on claiming for that. And obviously the OG NFTs are going to be useful because we are going to convert PTC into a DAO. I don't want me and the team to just be making executive decisions forever. Obviously, some things will still require, some decisions, but I'd rather the community make decisions, because I've always called PTC a community works token. That is its reason to exist, is to help people recoup losses from rugs and scams. That was why I started the project. I was tired of people getting wrecked and then going to get other wrecked while trying to recoup losses. And there was no project at all at the time that existed for the sole purpose of helping people recoup losses. And so that's what we do. We help rug victims.
If you're actually looking at me, even though I can't see
you. I would turn my camera on. I would turn my camera on, but I look like shit.
No, but if you see me doing stuff, don't mind me, because I'm just getting messages to do shit, and so I'm just doing it. G'day, how you going?
Hi. Yeah, I look like shit right now, but hi. See, everyone could see me. I don't hide my face.
I look like shit every day. Don't worry about that.
Yeah.
You don't look like shit. You're just a normal bloke. Turn your camera back on. You'll be right. It's all good. You're allowed to have red eyes or whatever it is that you've got. It's
blue
okay.
eyes. Blue eyes, but yeah.
No, I was meaning red. You've been out the back going.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah. Never. Anyway, sometimes
I just wanted to do that so people know that, like, no, I have no problem showing my face. My face is out
we know
there.
That.
My face is out there.
Yeah. Jason says I need a boob job. Weird.
But yeah, we do have a lot of stuff coming out. I know. My dream is obviously to build the simulated mining platform. That will be the final piece, but that's going to require a lot of money and a lot of very talented individuals that I'm going to have to bring together because it's never been done before. So,
the one thing I find is that, like I'm talking about running a project here. The one thing that I find is that everyone wants something, but just about everything that's delivered really isn't anything. And to actually deliver something is way harder than what people might actually think. Something that's real and does something, like it's a bloody challenge, isn't it? Like we can all make some sort of hypey thing and go, wow, that's the best thing ever. And like, yeah, whatever. But, like you got to look at the flip side to
the problem is a lot of projects right now are building stuff, and this is going to sound terrible saying it, and I don't mean to throw any projects under the bus at all, or any project managers, but a lot of projects do the process of build utility for the business first and the participant/investor second. Now, the problem with that, obviously, is twofold. One, there's the convenience factor, and two, there's the value proposition. Okay, now you can do the value proposition in that scenario to some extent, but what you lose is the convenience factor ultimately. And this is why when we build things, in PTC, I build everything from the perspective of, well, it has to be convenient for the investor, first and foremost. Like, look at our staking, right? Tokens never leave your wallet. There is no unstake fee. There is no claim fee, right? Everything is done so that it is the lowest possible barrier to entry possible. Sure, we do have minimums to stake, but every staking system has a minimum these days. But like, I really went as far as I could to make it as accessible and convenient as possible, so that the value proposition would by proxy already be built in, right? And we do that with pretty much everything. We try to make everything convenient and value proposition. A lot of projects don't do that. They go backwards. Has to be convenient and value proposition for the project first, then the investor. We go investor, then project.
See, this is where I find it really strange. Like, it's interesting listening to you say that, because I'll see if what I say correlates at all. I've had a lot of people try and sell me on different things, right, to do to a project, okay? And I haven't done any of them because they fail at the first test, which is in my layman's way of looking at it. Now, you are more looking at it from a, someone that's been around crypto a lot longer and looking at different aspects within within your little sphere. Whereas for me, I'm sort of still as much as I'm looking at it from a layman's perspective. So basically, when I'm explaining something, or when someone tells me what they believe that I should do, I ask them, the number one thing is, you tell me how that is good for the person, for the investor. And then they will say whatever it is that they say. And then I put it with my own logic and I go, okay, fair enough. Let's go on to the next thing. What is good to the protocol? Okay. And then they might explain whatever it is. But then each time that I've been told something, I can't see how they work out that it is good for the investor, and then secondly, good for the protocol. It fails every time. Now, I'm always kind of curious, is that just my viewpoint that I'm looking negatively at stuff, or is that just the way 100%. The DeFi space is, where it's where it just seems to be so difficult to get things that are tangible, that provide return, that actually work? Like, it's not as easy as what you might think.
No, it's not. It's not.
If it was that easy, we'd all be doing it, wouldn't we? Like,
what you're describing is exactly what I just said. The value proposition.
That's right.
It is the value proposition dilemma. Yeah. Now, when you're doing value proposition, right? Obviously, like, I'll give you an example. Okay, Wolf Capital. You're familiar with Wolf Capital? Mm-hmm. Right? They were doing 1.5% a day. Now, that is a value proposition that is good for the investor, absolutely fucking terrible for the project and the protocol. It fails at the protocol level completely, 100%. Yeah. Now, in order to pass the value proposition dilemma, it has to be both good for the investor, as in they're willing to give you dollars in exchange for them getting dollars back, more dollars ideally than they put in a reasonable amount of time, right? And then the protocol has to be sustainable, as in the protocol is able to make more money from its revenue streams and whatever service you're offering them than they are putting out, as in the money going back to the investors. If, you have to pass both. You can't pass one because you're still failing. And it's the same way on the other end. If your value proposition is shit for the investors, well, then they're just not going to invest and you're not going to grow.
Many projects do that though, don't they? Because they can sell the hype. They get people to FOMO into whatever it is that you're doing because it sounds great for the investor, like 1 or 2% or whatever it is. It's wonderful, yes. Like, of course you would do it, but for a protocol level, that's my second part. What's good for the protocol? Well, it falls over, doesn't it? It doesn't work.
No, and like it doesn't work. It doesn't work on the other end. We see all the time with on the other end with various projects where the rewards are so low and so few and far between that it's not really worth it. I will give one example, and I don't want to shit on them, but
you don't have to.
No, because I'll use them. Like, Make DeFi Better, MDB, right? Now, MDB is a very successful project. I want to put that out there and preface this. And Foxify is a great DEX that they're making. But if you take a look at their base staking model, just their MDB token and the rate at which they offer, I think it's like 5% or whatever, right? Now, 5% yearly on a token that's worth less than 1 cent. That doesn't work. I'm sorry, that doesn't work. Is it sustainable? Sure, yes, it passes the protocol, the check for the protocol and value proposition. It does not pass the value proposition for the investor. It's not worth it. They're not going to make any money in any reasonable amount of time. People don't come to People don't come to DeFi to make money like that. They come to DeFi to make money faster than they would in a traditional market. If they wanted
everyone wants a bloody moon.
if they wanted to make 5% a year, they would just go to the stock market and invest in Coca-Cola or something, or another dividend stock, like
Tesla.
In fact, they probably do better, to be honest.
Yeah.
That's why, for example, if you want a more reasonable, sustainable model, you look at like Warfi or Warhaven, which is my other project, or any number of other projects that are doing monthly, once a month, and the rate is usually between 2 and 10% a month, right? That's sustainable. You can actually mathematically do that as long as your revenue streams are consistent and sustainable. You can absolutely meet that, and both parties make money. So I don't know. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk. Stop doing percent a day projects if you're listening. Stop it. They're bad. They're terrible. They will never be sustainable. You can't do percent a day. Even 0.5% is bad.
Yeah. I just can't see how anyone gets sold on that stuff, but of course it happens. That's DeFi, isn't it? Where you get so many people out there doing the degen plays that they're almost like falling over each other to get into the degen plays, and it's and I wonder why they get burnt. It's like, hello.
Well, because there is one good thing about a Ponzi scheme, right? Who are the only ones besides the people running it who make money, right? There's the people that make, it's the people getting first. If you're the Gen 1 of the Ponzi scheme, you're almost guaranteed to fucking make a killing. As long as you get out before the rug happens, you just made bank. And case in point, right? All the guys who withdrew from Wolf Capital before they shut the lights off, they made fucking bank, dude. There was one guy in there who deposited like 200 something $1,000 early on. You know how much money he made? At 1.5% a day, he made so much money.
When SafeMoon first came out, I put in about $1,500, and it went up. That $1,500 went up to like 50 grand. And you know what? I never sold a fucking thing, and it just went all the way back down.
Why?
I know.
Ugh.
I know.
No, I'll tell you a story though. I had the same problem. I don't know if you ever heard of the Nemesis ecosystem. It's pretty dead now, but the guy who runs it, Rex, he is a joke, but he came out with Helena, which is a rebasing token, and you already know where this story goes. So I invested in Helena during the public sale. And I got in it with $7 a token, so I went in big, man. I threw in like $2,000, got a bunch, and so the rebasing was very high. It was like a retardedly high APY. You remember the DAO Wars? This was during the DAO Wars, and well, as you know, with a rebase token, inflation is a thing, and so it went all the way up to like $22 during the public sale. And I kick myself every day. I should have sold. I would have made like close to $10,000 off my tokens. But I was thinking it'll go up to $100. Don't do it, Kevin. It'll go up to 100 surely. And at this time I didn't realize about inflation on rebase and why rebase was terrible. And so then it went down to 18, then 17. And then fucking weeks later, it was at like under $5, and I was a very sad camper because I lost all my money.
So many of us have the same story, and that's just. What do you think about Grove blockchain?
I have heard of them. I have not looked into them too much. I think what they're doing is
they haven't been around that long.
I think what they're doing as far as their mission statement, because it seems pretty cool.
But being refi, their communities maybe should be more oriented towards refi type projects. I'm hoping. So because we get some marketing help and stuff like that, because the type of project that we are, hopefully that correlates into more eyes on it.
I think if I was gonna give them advice, I mean, I don't know if they'll ever hear this, but I think they should try to reach out to more DeFi projects. The ones that are sustainable, obviously. Just because, like, the problem with doing a blockchain these days is getting eyes on it, because, like, how many blockchains are launching? You know what I mean? It's a dime a dozen.
Just seems to be so common now, don't it?
Just this year, we've already had like a dozen top tier blockchains launch. There's more on the way. I know Vulcan apparently is still going to be happening, although they're renaming it, I guess. And
yeah.
So, so for a blockchain to succeed, you need obviously two things, which is validators and users. Participants. And if your participation rate is shit, it doesn't matter how many validators you have. So you look,
apparently they're doing pretty good. Like, I don't know the full deal, but like, they're to be exposed to their community for like calf would be way better than where we're exposed now within the Seifu community or the ex-Seifu community. Like, there's so much turmoil that's been within this community that it's just the way it is, where to get on their live streams and to have that sort of assistance and marketing, like, for instance, on their centralized exchange, we get like banner ads and stuff like that. As well as being on the centralized exchange, they've announced today that they've got the approval with the government to have their centralized exchange in Australia, to do all that sort of stuff. So, there's a lot of advantages to calf being away from Binance and being on Grove. From that standpoint, is that straight away our community reach would be, because at the moment you've got to agree the ex-Seifu community or the Vulcan community, unfortunately, is a bit toxic with the ups and downs that it's been dealt. And
I'll say this: the Seifu community are angry, bitter, and humiliated. And when you phrase it like that, I don't blame them for being toxic, because you have to remember, right? Like, if you were lied to, bamboozled, and scammed over 4 fucking times over the course of, say, 2 or 3 years by some rich asshole who only got rich off of you and everyone else's dollars, you would probably be angry too. Like, he made a fool of everybody. He humiliated them, and like, yeah, they are understandably pissed. And to add insult to injury, on his way out, he made sure to scatter everybody to the 4 corners of DeFi. So, like, now they don't even have a community. They're just left to go join other communities in small pockets. And, like, that's the worst part, man. That is the worst part. He should not have nuked that server. Honestly, I know this is probably unpopular opinion. I actually think server nuking is worse than rugging, to be honest with you. Just because it's such an insidious and evil thing to do. Imagine scattering 33,000 people so that there's just chaos. Nobody has anywhere to go to get information. They're just lost out there. Like, it honestly, it's evil to do that. Server nuking is evil. Truly.
I'll remember not to do it.
I'll
nuke my own token, but I won't do that.
I'm not saying rugging. Go ahead.
But Well, you know that I had the liquidity pulled on calf, so that was
Yes.
kind of where I said about nuking my own token. Well,
Yeah.
I fucking allowed that shit to happen, and it was like, holy shit, like what a
Yeah.
pain in the ass to go through that. Like,
Oh
at
yeah.
least it wasn't that much money as such. Like, it was still 13 grand at US, but
Yeah.
it was still a pain in the ass. Like,
Yeah.
it's certainly not a good thing. Like, but
No.
you know, what
No.
are you
I
meant
mean,
to
look.
do? Like, obviously, this shit's happened, and you just got to move on. But bloody
Yeah.
hell,
Yeah, and I'm not saying rugging isn't evil. It is. That's fucking
yeah,
fuck. It is, and it's illegal, right? You know, like the
yeah,
bastard who stole the 30,000 from Prisma, right?
yeah.
Piece of shit. You know, but yeah, I don't know. Just server nuking to me, it rubs me the wrong way because like it's it's done purposely and maliciously, not so much to do financial harm, but to do psychological harm. You're actually just trying to fuck with people as much as possible, as efficiently as possible, and that's why I don't know. It's not good. But
Yeah, I know. See, the calf community were amazing during the whole ordeal. Like when shit hit the fan, and I was sitting at the computer, and suddenly liquidity was pulled. It was like I was under stress and wondering what the fuck to do. And then I remembered I could actually pause the contract. And then I had to figure out how the hell did I get to the contract? Like all these things are so easy to do when you're clear minded, but usually at night time is when I make the biggest mistakes. And so I don't normally do things at this time of night, except for just talk. If I do computer stuff, it's at another time of the day when my brain functions. It's amazing after brain surgery, I really get cognitive decline during the later hours of the night. I
oh,
can
jeez.
communicate that okay, but if I ever make a mess up, and you actually spotted one of my mess ups that I did, which you sent to Jason, and that was pretty funny. I haven't spoken to you about that yet, but I'll do that one of these days. But that was
Yeah.
pretty funny. But that's just a typical late night mess up where I was working a lot with Mighty guys, and he knows me well enough now is don't ask me to do shit late at night because I'll fucking send it to the wrong wallet or I'll do something wrong, just don't get me to do shit when I'm tired, because that's
Yeah.
when everything goes wrong. And hence I got the liquidity pulled late at night when I was most vulnerable, and allowed the person to get access, and the rest is history.
That
But the
sucks.
calf committee, yeah, but that's the thing. I took responsibility, of course, because I did it. It was a blatant fault on my part. Like there was no hiding the fact that that's what I did. It wasn't that someone hacked it or anything like that. I allowed it to happen. Obviously unintentionally as such, but I still allowed the action to happen.
Yeah.
Now, the what was I going to say? It was something really intelligent. I know it was fucking smart. It was going to be the highlight of your evening or your day, and then I'll fucking forget it. This is exactly what I was talking about when I get this decline.
You're fine. Wait, what time is it
I
for you?
just blame it.
What time is it
It's
for you?
nearly 9 o'clock
Oh, that's right. That's right. Because yeah,
at night.
you're in Australia, like Coach, who is a team member in my other project.
Yeah, but I'm in Western Australia, so we're 2 hours different than the East Coast.
Oh, God. So yeah, you're like 12 hours ahead of me because it's
Correct.
8:54 a.m. for
Yeah,
me.
correct.
Okay.
Yeah, that's
Yes.
right. We're
Wow.
12 hours. We're exactly 12 hours apart.
Damn, man. That's crazy.
Yeah. Yeah, well,
Um.
like if I dug a hole, I'll end up in your front yard. So you just remember that. You give me the shit, so I'll just dig a hole and I'll be there.
You mean are you saying you won't end up in China? Damn.
No. That's everyone makes this thing up that you'll end up in China, but no, we'll end up in the east coast of America. And if I want to, I'll end up in your front yard. So it's unbelievable. Yeah, we end up in your house.
That's funny.
Good night, Jason. Take care. Thank you very much, mate. Cheers. See you later.
See you, Jason. Thanks for talking to me, bud. Fun fact, by the way, about the U.S. Not the U.S. The world, right? And digging a hole. Assuming you had like Superman level heat tolerance, right? And also assuming that the core didn't exist, what would happen is if you dug a hole straight through the earth, you would just fall forever. You know why? Because you would every time you fell from one end of the earth to the other, you would get pulled back and then fall towards the core, and then you'd pass it in a slingshot motion, and then you'd get pulled back again and again and again and again, and you would just fall forever back and forth because the physics of gravity.
There's some pretty neat, that's how satellites stay in space, because they're traveling at a speed that essentially they're always falling. Like, you don't think so, but they're actually falling to the center of the Earth, but they're always glancing off the Earth, like staying in their orbit, because the speed is just right, where they're always falling to Earth, but falling, they're always missing the Earth. And so they're always constantly on this fall to the center of the Earth, but they're out there in space. It seems weird to look at it like that, but that's how it works. And the planets are exactly the same to the sun, whereas we're falling to the sun, but we keep skipping. That's our orbit. We keep missing it because we're on this orbit around the sun.
Yeah, there's two types of. There's a stable orbit and there's an unstable orbit. For example, the International Space Station, right? That's in an unstable orbit because it's in low Earth orbit. So then, how does it not just crash into there? Well, they actually use boosters to adjust back into a semi-sustainable orbit, and then every time it gets too close to where it would start just falling straight down into the ocean or whatever, they boost it back into a where it should be, and they just keep doing that. So, but yeah, I get what you're saying.
Our television comes from a satellite that's geometrically in orbit, so it stays in the same spot. And so that's a satellite that just it's going at the speed of the Earth, but it's staying in the same location around the Earth.
Geosynchronous orbit, right?
Yeah. So that's how we get our
that's something
signals.
That's something Tesla does. Elon does, not with Tesla. They're what is it called? SpaceX, I think.
Yeah, Starlink.
Starlink, yes.
That's how I'm listening to you, because we're on Starlink. Because we use that because that's just, we can't get any internet here that even comes close to having Starlink. So we're on a Starlink. We've got our little satellite dish out there, our Starlink receiver.
I used to play with a guy for when I played video games when I was younger from Australia, and he would tell me that his actual broadband internet was like 2 megabytes up and like less than that down. I was like, how does that even work? He's like, oh, you want one better. He's like, sometimes my broadband goes out because of like high usage, and so he would have to default to dial-up level internet, actual phone lines. I'm like, that, are you talking about a 56K modem, my guy? He's like, exactly. I'm like, how do you play anything on 56 kilobytes?
When actually where we live, we're really lucky. We have what's called ADSL, which is the old sort of broadband, and that gives fairly good speed, where we can get up to, if it's going really good, it's about 10 megabits. But it fluctuates so much, it's just unbelievable. And trying to upload videos onto YouTube or TikTok or whatever, forget it. Like, just give it away. And that's why I got the Starlink, because it allows me to do the videos, and so I can upload videos really good now. And I'm getting like around 220 odd megabits with the Starlink, and my upload speed is around 40 or 50 megabits. So it's working really good for just the basic Starlink. setup. So yeah, it obviously costs us money, but so did the ADSL as well. It's a little bit more expensive, but it with the ADSL you got to pay for the phone line, which we never used as a phone.
I bet you if you dollar cost average it would actually still be cheaper for Starlink. Like if you did price per megabyte, I bet you.
Oh yeah, no, you wouldn't even get close. Yeah, Starlink's way cheaper. Yeah, you'd seriously be downloading and uploading so much more information per dollar. It's just unbelievable. Yeah. Without that, that is a complete game changer with where we live. And you can see, I can see that Australia would be a huge uptake of Starlink. And now that Starlink is actually partnered up with our telecommunications company called Telstra to provide Starlink services through Telstra. So, because we only have the one main telecommunications company in Australia. Well, we do have other ones as well, I should say, like for like Optus and Vodafone and things like that. But the main one, which was the ex-government one, which is Telstra, they're the biggest one. They're the ones that provide the services as such, like the poles or the wires and things like that. Yeah, but they've partnered up apparently with Elon to provide Starlink. So I'm wondering whether it's going to be any cheaper or not. I don't know.
I don't know.
Knows? Through them it might be.
I will be curious. I'll be curious how the Australian government tries to regulate that, because, like, obviously, the Australian government really likes to censor the net for Aussies, and that's a big thing, is like censorship of information. So, like, are they going to tell Elon what his satellites can and can't beam down, or you know what I mean? Like, no, you're not allowed to beam the news through Starlink.
I hope we don't get censored too much, because we're not meant to. I know they do stuff, but they're not really meant to be censoring too much. But like year by year, the government does try and, like the creep, where they slowly but surely put an extra step in to make it, more and more
draconian,
censored. Yeah. So that certainly does happen, yes.
But I don't know, man.
But as a rule, we shouldn't really have too much censorship on stuff. But I don't know. It's hard to know until you go away from an area and then you see whether you actually, what else is on the supermarket shelves when you go to another country.
Well, the main thing you got to do, right, is you got to do like a test for your average citizen who doesn't use the internet a lot. Like you Keith, you're not the average citizen because you go online, you're in DeFi, you watch American news when and where you can. I'm sure you watch international news, you read international news articles. So you're not average Joe or Jane in Australia. But I'm willing to bet you money that if you went to like one of your neighbors who isn't, online as much and doesn't watch international news, and you ask them about a certain thing that, of certain news event or current event, they probably wouldn't know fuck all about it.
Right. Now when you say like that, right, you're making me think of an example of that is we've got what's known as the ABC, which is the Australian Broadcasting, right? Now that's the government run TV station, right? Now they are essentially like your CNN, right?
Or your Fox News,
yeah, and so they're very left wing, and very, even though they got a as part of government regulation is that they've got to be unbiased in their opinions and stuff like that, but they are so left leaning like you wouldn't believe. So I've actually got a retired neighbor, and he tells me something about, you see that Trump's been whatever, and I go, you're watching too much ABC, and he goes, yeah. So you got to just stop watching the ABC so much, because they're just we had this whole. The ABC did this whole thing of Russia collusion and stuff like that,
Yeah.
and it was just unbelievable the
Like
amount of
I'll give you
stuff.
an example. Ask your neighbor next time if he has heard that the Bidens are under investigation
No, they're fine.
For $10 million worth of
Yeah,
foreign
yeah.
dirty
No,
money.
that didn't happen. That's fine.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Because that is the thing. They are 100% under investigation by the Department of Justice in the U.S. right now.
I know. Yeah, that's right. And
So
then guess what they did on the as good as clockwork. What did they do on the very next day? That was announced.
yep.
They indicted Trump again on those next lot of
Oh
bogus
yeah.
charges,
Oh
and
yeah.
it's
No,
on
but
the January 6th stuff. And it's like
that's
every
happened
time.
fucking 4 times now, though. It like
I know.
they'll
Isn't it
announce
just three
that
times?
Hunter Biden is under investigation. The next day, Trump's first indictment. Then
Yep.
then they'll announce that the Bidens, including the president, are under investigation for
Mar-a-Lago.
for foreign money.
Yeah, I know. But then Mar-a-Lago got done.
The next day they fucking indict Trump for Mar-a-Lago, and then they fucking the next thing is fucking something about
I know.
Hunter. And then they fucking go after Trump a third time because they can't have it look worse
No,
for Biden. They
it's
cannot have it.
unbelievable. It's unbelievable, that stuff. And I don't know how you guys are, as a country, how you guys deal with that sort of stuff. And I'm wondering also on my side of the fence, like how much of what I see is actually true or not true, because I'm not, like, I see Fox and then I watch CNN, and they are
Don't
totally poles
I
apart.
can
Like,
tell
they are
you
so different. It's unbelievable.
I can tell you this. The mainstream media in the US, and this includes both right and left, okay? Both of them, all of them for that matter, are the biggest bunch of dishonest state-run media agents in the country. Like, the NSA blushes at the level of lying that the mainstream media does. They could only dream of being able to lie to the American people that much on a daily basis. And if
It's
you
just
know anything,
unbelievable.
about our NSA, you know that they're corrupt as fuck. So,
No, it's absolutely amazing how much how they're so poles apart. In their, like, if you watch one news article on Fox and then the same news article on CNN, it's from two completely different perspectives, and it's like, are you watching the same story? Like,
right,
seriously?
because they're not interested in giving you the facts.
No, that's right.
They're interested in giving you the bent. Is it a right leaning bent or a left
Yep.
leaning bent? I
Yeah,
don't
that's
know.
right.
You know?
But that's why I say to you that where we are, I'm not sure where does the truth land in that? Like, if I was witnessing it myself in America, where would I be? Where would my viewpoint be?
Go
But the way that I generally work it out is, does it pass the pub test? And
Yeah.
generally CNN just doesn't pass the shit test. Like, it seriously just falls over every time on the pub test.
Yeah.
But when you look at Fox, you go, that's more plausible. But is that because I'm center right, or is it, like, because these people
Fox
that are on the left, they really lap up what CNN says. They really
Fox
do.
Fox is slightly better, yes, because they'll give you the news story without lies. Generally, most of the time, that doesn't mean Fox doesn't lie. They have been shown to lie on occasion, but
Everyone does.
Generally speaking, Fox will give you the story without added lies. But the problem I have with Fox is, instead of adding in lies, they add in the right wing bent to it. So now, if there's a story where Joe Biden was shown to be fucking saying some dumbass shit, right? They don't just have the story about him saying some dumbass shit. They will then spend the next hour proceeding to shit all over him just because righties hate lefties. They can't just have the story. They have to embellish it a little bit,
But then some of the things that Biden does, holy shit! Like it's
Oh yeah,
just
no,
like,
he's terrible.
are
He's awful.
you
He is awful.
and your border stuff and things like that. Like
Yeah.
in Australia with our borders, you wouldn't stand for that for 2 seconds to have your
No.
borders like what they're doing over there. It's just
No. And
unbelievable
it's
how it
embarrassing. It's
is.
embarrassing
Yeah.
because you have to think about it, right? We're the leader of the free world,
Yeah.
and we're supposed to provide protection to all of our allies, including Australia. Hell, we have fucking naval ships out in that area of the world to help you guys if anyone ever fucking tried to attack. And here we are, and we can't even fucking protect ourselves.
Mm. I
Like,
know.
it's silly, dude. It's
And
silly.
there's a and like I don't know whether this is just a Fox thing or not, but they say that they're letting in people that are on a terror watch list and things like this, and it's like, far out. Are they just asking for trouble if that's true? And when I don't doubt it, because they're letting in hundreds of thousands of people. Well, obviously they're not vetting them all, or, like they're gonna or vetting them all. So there's someone's going to get in that the less desirable. Like, surely. Yeah, I don't know. Obviously different countries do different things. We're lucky we're surrounded by water, so it's a different thing.
Yep.
When we had a big run of boat arrivals, obviously, we had to change the government, and the conservative government, stopped it, and the lefty government seems to like having that sort of opportunity back again. But it's kind of weird how it just, everyone's allowed to have their different viewpoints, of course, and I'm a advocate of free speech and for people to have their viewpoints. That's why on here, on my little stage, I try not to be too judgmental on things that are happening. Like, for instance, the other day I had Daniel Prado on here talking about his worldwide token, and holy shit, if you've ever talked to Prado, like, get ready for an earful. Like, he's full on, just so passionate and so hyped up. It's just the way he is. And but like I said to him, is that I don't pass judgment on your token. I support him doing what he wants to do, as long as you're obviously doing the right thing by the people. But like, because everyone's allowed to be a CEO if they choose to do that and run a project, they can do that. And I support him for that. But I don't necessarily do or don't support his token. That's for everyone to do their own research and work out what they want to do. Like I said to him, you present your case, and then it's up to the people to work out what they want to do. And did I just lose something, or
Otto is very passionate about what he does. I was actually on the little like community space that he did in his server yesterday for like 5 minutes, and I asked him a couple questions and gave him some advice. He's a good guy, but he's very.
I give him plenty of advice in private.
Yeah, I do too. But we had a quick thing on the space, and I asked him that. But he's very passionate about his project and his vision, and sometimes when people hit him with criticism,
Oh yeah,
he goes off because he's very passionate.
I've been trying to gently let him know, just to, and he likes to watch back my live streams too, Daniel. It's no offense, but just as you've been working on yourself, that is that you just got to sort of roll with the punches a little bit. As we say in Australia, let it go through to the keeper. Like, don't take it personally. Like, people just say their thing, and you sort of just got to let it roll. But yeah, like, that's where, like, him with the shilling of Seifu and Brian was obviously because it was just so passionate. Like, but it was taken to this is what a lot of people have trouble with Daniel about, is because he took that passion and was so more or less like so intense with people,
Yep.
where sometimes he was even yelling down the camera at people
Yep.
about their actions or inactions or whatever it might be, you know, like sell or don't sell or whatever it might be. Usually it is don't sell, don't be stupid, you know. But,
Oh, yeah.
you know, like, seriously, you don't need to tell people what to do or not to do. Like, I understand his viewpoint. I get that. But as someone with a stage, like, unfortunately, it's just for you to present, you know, as many facts and information as you can, and then people can make up their own minds to what they want to do.
Yeah, it's kind of like the artist who makes a painting, right? Like, you make the painting and you put it on display. You don't get to sit there at every exhibit with your painting and tell everyone what the perspective of the painting is and what they should think. No, they get to decide whatever the hell they want to think about the painting. You just put it out there, and it's the very same way with a token, right? If you're running a legitimate project with a legitimate token, right? You've put it out there now. People will choose to participate with it or not. If they choose to participate it, then they're going to do that however they feel best. You don't get to decide their level of participation in what they're going to do. You know, people have free will, and you know, and all that. So I think the other thing though is, you know, and I've told Dan this. He needs to let the Brian stuff go, and he's doing that now. Like, he shouldn't blame himself for Brian. Okay, I get it. He was one of Brian's biggest supporters, right? And he was burned just as much as anyone else. You know, just like your map was burned. I'm sure you were burned by Brian, right? Nobody could have seen that Brian was going to fucking become so mentally unhinged that he would do what he did. It is what it is. But Dan shouldn't blame himself for Brian's actions. Brian is a man, and he chose to be a scamming, conniving piece of shit. You know. So,
but that's why, like, Dan is obviously copping a bit of a flack from a lot of sides because he takes a stance in which he does. But I think the biggest thing that got so many people worked up is just the pure passion. Like, when he takes hold of something, he leads from the front. Like, there's no messing around with the fella. Like, if you wanted someone to be pushing your project, you know, like, he would be definitely a one to call to push a project, like, because
absolutely,
he's so intense and passionate about it that it draws people in.
And he's got the marketing game for days. 100%. His marketing game on point.
Obviously far better than mine, because I have you here and I get, you know, half a dozen people, whereas he would have 100 people. So it's, you know, obviously completely different, you know, but that's okay. I enjoy my little stage. It's just fine. Sometimes
you'll grow over time, man.
But these guys here, like Seifu Dad and Jason and that, they're all great supporters, and Leon and you know, Whale Miner, you know, these guys here are, you know, my bread and butter, so to speak, with the live streaming stuff. You know, these guys are bloody brilliant.
You'll grow your audience over time, and you know, as long as you do what you need to do and you run things the way you got to, you'll grow over time. Honestly,
we try.
But hey, we've been on for an hour and a half, so let's talk about what we wanted to talk about, and that is
you can say whatever it is that you want to say. I'm not forcing you to say anything.
No,
so it's totally up to you to what you want. If you wanted to say something, you don't have to.
No,
I'm making that honest to you. You don't have to.
I mostly just wanted to ask. So, like, you know, kind of like what I asked you in DMs. What exactly do you want me to do here? Because, like, from my perspective, right? Okay. I'm caught in the middle of this tiff, you know, this legitimate tiff, but this tiff that you and Oliver have with each other, right? And that is partly my fault, because I hosted the stage months ago for him, and you know, we haven't had a stage since. But I get where you're coming from, that things were said and some of it's not true, and that's, you know, unfair to you. But you know, I'm caught in the middle here, and now it's a matter of, okay, do you want me to shit all over the entire team at one? Do you want me to simply just make changes to those texts in our server? Do you want me to do something else? What would be a good what would
now
be a
this
good what would be a good resolution for you? That's what I want to ask, brother. What's the resolution you want to see? That's where I'm.
Right. The only thing that was that that, as you know, there wasn't the due diligence when it comes to something which is accusational. Then really you should really find, at least do your best to do due diligence to try your best within reasonable means to back a story up, and then that's okay. And I've never been anywhere that's been hard to find. I've always been here and available, and so many of the people that you know are the people that I know, and so it's been very, very easy to get in contact with me to at least get a different perspective, because with the one problem that there is the passage of time doesn't make it any easier to do, like recollections and try and find, specific conversations or whatever it is to try and support a given case.
Right.
And of course, everyone has their perspective. So if anyone will say there's your opinion, there's my opinion, and there's the truth in somewhere in there, like that's the way it works.
Right.
And everything that I've tried to explain to you is as truthful as I can possibly make it be.
Oh no,
so
and
I'm just saying my piece where it's not my opinion. I'm trying to let you know that obviously I can't meet the parameters of the evidence that you wanted to get, but that's okay. I'm okay with that. Because it is what it is. And, like if you were there at that moment in time, your opinion would be obviously a lot different. Whereas when you're looking from 3 months down the track and you look back, it's hard to put things together. Whereas at the time you would see as the process unfolded, you would go, oh yeah, that was admitted to then, because you were watching whatever it was, and you would see, because there's been a lot of message history deleted from a Discord, which supported the case, and that no longer exists because that was wiped clean, and obviously it's not is no longer in my control. So of course, they were able to do their admin stuff. So there was just things that I couldn't produce, and I never went digging for that stuff and saving it as such, because whatever.
I will.
But what annoyed me though is that the stage keeps on getting used, and it's like there's only so many times that I want to get thrown under the bus all the time for things that I know I didn't do, and I just sort of just got sick of it, and that's why I asked you about this stuff.
To be fair, right? Oliver has only been on our stage.
Oh, yeah, I know that.
Once, right? Now, now to be fair, right? To be fair, I'm not downplaying the fact that, he said things on there, right? And I could have done better at trying to track you down to get your side of it, and also just doing a little more fact checking. I own up to that, so I'm not downplaying that part. But I will say he's only been on our stage once, which was months ago. Now I do know that you are correct in that, I believe he went on Pillars fairly recently, and a couple other AMA stages, and I don't know, because I haven't watched those AMAs. I don't know if he talked about you or brought you up.
It's just basically the same stuff keeps coming up.
So
and even and even in Brew the other day, the same thing popped up again, and it wasn't provoked. It was just he decided to come out and say it himself, and it's like it just keeps on running the same narrative, and yet I've got. He was a part of the transition of the token. Was either I could continue with it, and he won't be there, or he could continue it and I won't be there, because we weren't going to do a joint collaboration any further. And that it was meant to be purely amicable and left on terms where nothing else is said. because there was nothing need to be said. But then when live streams come out and the same sort of lines keep popping up, that's where I kind of get a little bit annoyed, and it just keeps on giving me the shits. It doesn't affect anything that I'm doing as such. It's just in here, it's affecting me because it's
no, I mean it does
that,
kind of affect you though, because like it hurts your ability to partnership and network with other projects, and if you can't do partnerships, and if you can't do,
that's not the case.
yeah, but if you can't do partnerships and network with people, I mean, you're fucked. You know what I mean? Like, and I know that from experience because, like, you know, when I started PTC, right, my reputation was trashed. It was trashed far worse, I can tell you, than anything Oliver did to you months ago because of what, you know, me having gotten my refund in PGV. Everybody thought I was a Judas. You know, I was the Judas who betrayed Jesus at that point to fucking almost like 8,000 people, and I had to work very hard through my actions to prove otherwise. Running a project, imagine being in a project and all 200 people that joined you hate you and think very poorly of you. They're only there because they're like, well, we're pissed at you, but you said you'd help us make back some losses, so we're gonna give you one chance to prove yourself. And that's basically how it was for a couple months. I had to just put up with FUD and hatred. And you know, like now it's better, yes, because I worked very hard at that with my team, but you know what I mean? Like that's you don't want to ever be in that situation where you're constantly being trashed, because I wasn't constantly being trashed. It was the one thing, and I made a mistake, and I learned the hard way about that, and you know, that was it. But if you're constantly being trashed, you don't get the time to make up for anything. You just keep getting trashed, and it doesn't, you know. So I get where you're coming from, and
but I'm not after blood, you know, like
no.
I just want people to shut the frig up, like, because it's things that we agreed upon as a man agreement, and it was in writing, is that just leave it in the past. Like, don't talk about it. And then it just keeps coming up, and it's like, just shut up. Like, you don't just talk about your project, talk about the good things you're doing, and don't worry about dredging up, you know, FUD, fake, you know, stuff from the past. You don't need to worry about it. With whatever perspective you're giving it from, it doesn't matter. You don't need to talk about shit stuff. Like, just talk about good stuff, things that you're doing, things that you want to do, you know, like accomplishments and different achievements. You know, talk about good things. Don't have to keep on going over the same thing again. Oh shit, we're hearing about this again. And for the last time, seriously, my son bought in at like 4 cents or something. And you even spoke to someone that was accused of being my son from their team. And like, holy shit, man! Like, you just. I do want to say this. The crypto space is so screwed up. Like, seriously.
I do want to say this real quick, because like the standard of proof that I put to you, that wasn't for you specifically. I want to be very clear. Like, when I talked to Lucky and he tried like sending me BSC scans saying like, this is Keith's wallet, this is Keith's son's wallet, I'm like, that's
show me.
And I was like, that's fantastic, Lucky, but I can't fucking verify if that's actually Keith's wallet or that's his son wallet. For all you and I know, that's Donald Trump's wallet, and Donald Trump dumped 1 tokens. You can't just give me a BSC scan and say that's John's wallet. How do I know that's John's wallet? How do you know that's John's wallet? Unless you have some proof that points to that being John wallet, or John himself admitting that's John's wallet, then that means nothing. That is not evidence. That's you backing a claim up with an unverifiable piece of evidence. And if it's unverifiable, then it does me no good. And so I told him the same spiel I told you, because if you're going to present something to a lot of people, you better have your shit on the A game. And I know in saying that, I failed when I a little bit on that when I did the AMA with Oliver, and I apologize to you. That is my bad. But if I'm going to try to be consistent in the future, right, you might as well start now. And, that's where I'm at is like,
I'm trying to help.
I'm not,
I want to help you. So you got PTC as the
yeah,
truth part is
yeah,
better going forwards. It's
yeah,
like when you put a stamp on a project that they won't rug, and then all of a
right,
sudden they rug on you. It's like,
yeah,
yeah, that makes you look really good, doesn't it?
no,
Like, come on, you've got to, you know,
you
like
know,
I said, is that I'm not after heads, I'm not after blood or anything like that. I just want you as someone on a stage that's presenting to an audience to
yeah,
at least, when there's certain perspectives that are drawn up, which is like allegations towards someone's wrongdoing, then maybe that shouldn't be aired until you have the balance of probability one way or the other, because unfortunately once it's said you can't unsay it. Like
right,
it's been said, and like it takes like 1,000 attaboys to get rid of like one bad thing. It's
yeah,
it's just a horrible position to be put into, where Keith and his son have done this action, and yet,
right,
okay, then prove it. Show me the actions, show it to me. And that they can't, because it didn't happen. It never happened. And like I said on the live stream, I said the name of who did it because everyone else knew who it was anyway. But I knew who it was because I had those messages to Oliver, which I've shown you,
yeah,
stating that. And then,
yeah.
but like I said, is that it was the free market. Technically, he was perfectly allowed to do everything that he done, and everything was above board. There was nothing wrong
Right,
per se.
and I
It
talked
was,
and I talked to him. I talked to him about what you had brought to me, right? Because like I also want to be clear, right? I didn't dismiss what you said, what you gave me offhandedly. All of those screenshots and all of those BSC scans, I did look at them, Keith. I really did, and I went to Oliver and I went to that to the other person. And I vetted them and I was like, hey, I have these things. Okay, this is what's being claimed. Okay, can you confirm if you did X, or can you confirm about these things, right? And as far as the other person, they did confirm that yes, that was legitimate. They did confirm that they did dump those tokens. Okay,
oh, well, there you
you
go.
know, and so as far as that goes, you're square on that. We're square, and Oliver did confirm a couple things to me as well. Now he also said some other things, but my point here, right, is that
What are
I
you
did
got me curious now. I'm wondering what those other things are.
my point here, right, is that I actually did look at all of everything you gave me. I didn't just dismiss it. I know it might have
Yeah, I
seemed
get
like
that.
that because you were heated at me and it seemed like I wasn't trying to engage with you. No, but I
Yeah,
was actually going around and trying to talk to people about everything you had given me, because you
you
had
you
given me
do
a lot. You had given me
you
a
do
whole lot of stuff that I had to like run through.
you do realize that I was just putting a fire under you, getting you to make sure you're covering all your bases, though.
So
That you're not firing off on half knowledge. You're actually looking at it deeply,
so
like
as far as far as
no,
as
no.
far as everything goes, I think we're good. So I'll ask you this: Are if I make edits to those to the write-ups that I did for that AMA with Oliver, right? We square? We good? That
Well,
way everything will be truthful and to the point and based on the evidence presented and the testimonies
yeah,
given by you, by Oliver, by the rest of the team and everybody that I talk to, and we'll be
yeah.
we'll be
Well,
square.
the Zoin and the one token write-ups is what I'm not happy with. Yes.
Right. And if I make changes to those so that they are more in line with the evidence and the testimonies by all parties, then are we square?
Well, I just
I will obviously share them first, but if I make changes to them so that they're more in line, are we square?
well, that's all you can do.
Yeah.
And if that's what you feel like you're
Well, no, because I want to make things.
correct to
I want to
do.
make things right. I want to make things right, Keith.
Yeah, well then that's what I call making it right then. Yes.
All right. All right.
If that's what satisfies you, then that's good enough for me.
Well, no, it's not
That's
what
where I
satisfies.
stand.
It's not what
No,
satisfies
no,
me. It's not.
that's
It's
where
not what.
that's what does it for me.
Okay.
If you live seriously with Kevin, you live with this thing of this high morale standards, okay? And
Mm-hmm.
I believe I do the same thing, right? But you would only do things that are up to a certain standard, okay?
Mm-hmm.
And you wouldn't be doing the PTC stuff if you weren't up to that standard, right?
Right.
So that's where I'm saying that whatever you do, whatever you think is correct, I'm sure will be right. Yes.
Well, okay, I appreciate that, but I want to make sure because it's not
Well,
about me. It's
well,
not because
I want to see the writing. Like, show me
it's
what you're
not.
going to do then.
It's yeah. Well, no. Like I said, I will share it first, but it's not about me. It's also about what you want, and that's why at the top of this conversation I asked you what resolution is acceptable for you, right? Because like it doesn't really matter what I do and if I hold it up to a certain moral standard. If it doesn't meet what you want as a resolution, then I mean we're not
Yeah,
really going to solve anything, because I want there to be an amicable resolution where you feel okay. I'm square with you, right? And I know that doesn't solve any issues you have with Oliver. I know you guys still have your
yeah,
separate issues, but
yeah, but that's
I'm
okay.
trying.
But
I just want an amicable resolution for me and you, where you're like, okay, that's acceptable to me. We're good. That's where I'm coming
sorry.
at it.
Hi, Jane. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Well, I'll put it this way. I don't believe there should be anything written in those two descriptions that are FUD like, because
Hmm.
nothing technically went wrong. Yes, there was a big dump, there was a big sell, there was shit that happened, and it got turned into something that it wasn't. So it shouldn't be anything written in there that is anything controversial or that some sort of fuddy thing happened, because as general trading goes, nothing bad happened. It was just trading, and he was perfectly legal to and correct to do everything that he did. And I said that on the night of the live stream, that there
Yeah.
was nothing wrong per se, but what they did with the narrative, that was what was wrong. And
Let me
so, in your
let me
words, yeah, go on.
let me ask you this, just so that we bury this once and for all. Did you and or your son sell one tokens during that time period? I don't
No,
care. I'm not asking like, oh, did you dump?
no,
I'm asking,
no,
did you
no.
sell on the market? Yes or no?
I I was sitting back in my chair with my phone,
Yeah.
talking on Discord flat out, and my computer has the wallets on it, and I
Yeah.
didn't even have the computer on. I was flat out doing this like you
Mm-hmm.
wouldn't believe, to
Uh-huh.
everyone blowing up in me face and going, "What the fuck? Like, stop with this shit."
And your
And
son didn't sell either? Because like
uh, I sent you the messages that were from him,
yeah.
and um, as far as I could recall, that no. But even if he did, he was just like anyone else that's freely able to on the free market.
Mm-hmm.
Um, you know, you wouldn't believe this, but I'm not really, like, I talk to him, but he's not. We don't really get that business involved.
Mm-hmm.
I know a lot of people say with their family it's different, but seriously, he didn't even know I was putting the LP on any of me tokens. He'd never known anything. He's never had any privileged information or any advance notice of anything or anything. And so he had no idea of doing. So I don't control what he does or doesn't do. What he does is he's a free person allowed to do whatever he wants to do. But I know that he bought some tokens at about 4 cents or something like that, and he had about 20,000 or something left when after that night. Well, on that night, so that meant that he couldn't have been dumping him. But of course he might have sold down some. I don't know, but that would be someone in the free market doing that, just like I'm supporting Lucky Charms in selling down 100,000 tokens as he did. Like he's a free person and able to do his actions. But there was certainly no sales in there from him that would have constituted a dump, because if he did sell anything, it would only be small quantities. It certainly wasn't a dump.
I see. Okay, and my last question.
I obviously wasn't sitting there with him. I didn't see, so obviously I can't be 100%. But obviously I was flat out checking wallets, and his one was never flagged by me. Otherwise, I would have been on the phone to him saying, "Stop doing what you're doing." But that didn't happen.
Okay, so my last question then is the team allocation, the original team allocation, where you and Oliver got like X amount of tokens or whatever. I don't care about the amount; it's irrelevant to the question.
That 15% is just plucked out of thin air. That didn't exist.
So then, what
was your question?
What 1 tokens did you burn the 1 tokens you had along with Oliver?
Yeah.
You did.
Well, okay. I did mine, yeah.
Okay. Well, he did his. I have the BSC scan that proves that he did his. So yeah. Okay. Right. So then there we go. There we go. So all right, I have no
idea whether he did or didn't or whatever, because that's nothing of my business. I'm sure he did, because there was like 300,000 burnt. So, I put in 180 or something like that. So he must have been somewhere around there.
Well, yeah, because they're like over 400,000 now.
Burnt. Oh, is that what it was? Yeah. Well, there you go.
Yeah, they're almost
190 or something like that.
Yeah, you guys definitely burnt both of your things. So like he did his.
But I'm not specific on who had what, because of course I don't know the answers. I don't know.
And to be fair to Oliver, right? Like every time you've been brought up, he for any negative, he always does give you the credit that you burnt your tokens to help the community. So to be fair to him, but but of
course he should only be able to say the same thing about me as I say about him, which is that as far as you're aware that's what's happened. Obviously I don't know, because I'm like you're talking about my son. I'm not in his house watching what he is or isn't doing.
Right.
So I don't know. But there was no such thing as like we had 15% or anything like that. That didn't exist. There was no such thing as a percentage. Like that was I found that one there really amusing when that one popped up. It was just like all that I knew was that I added LP, and all of a sudden there was a shitload of sale or buys happening. And I said to Oliver about it, and I don't know where they were from. I'm not accusing him or anyone or whoever. I just don't know. I know strange things can happen when you add an LP with people that have set up, like bots or whatever. That part of it is very grey to me. I don't know. I don't understand it. But when I launched Calf, no such thing happened. It was completely different. But with one, it was just very busy, very fast. It was a whole lot going on, and I just don't understand it. And of course, as much as you look at the blockchain, I could look at the first transactions, but they don't really tell me any answers, because as much as I'm good at looking at finding out who has what, I can't find out who has them, because they were just wallets doing their thing, and I don't know. Like it's just
and that's where I was coming at it from, is like I wasn't dismissing your evidence, nor was I dismissing Lucky Charms evidence or Oliver's evidence or anyone's evidence.
A lot of it's just speculation.
It's just that, like, if you claim somebody did something, right? And your only evidence to support that claim is an unverifiable BSC scan. That doesn't help me. I can't, as the person you want to verify that claim, verify it, because I don't know if that person is the one who owned that wallet, who did that action at that time. That's where
you've got the answers already, because you said that the transactions were verified from Lucky. But of course, like I asked you the day before, which was, you find there's always this speculation part, which is everyone looks at the wallet that dumped, okay, but what about the one that led to cause the dump? And that's why you asked the question about my son, right? Because what caused that dump? And that's why I asked, because I looked at those transactions from the 10th and 11th, and I looked through the transactions, and I think I see Nathan's transaction, but I don't know. I haven't confirmed that it's his wallet. And I sent you the scan for it.
Yeah.
But the other transactions in that period, I can't find anything that looks like it instigated a dump. And so as far as I'm concerned, until that point in time, that it was just normal market forces. There was nothing that was out of the ordinary. Every time it went down, it'd come back up and sit somewhere in that zone. There was nothing that sparked the FUD, the fear cell. And I sent that message to Oliver that said about Lucky cells, one after another, they started, and then I started to see a fear cells, which is people that have just bought tokens and selling them at a loss. And that's where I see that fear is starting to set in. That's when you know that if you continued, then you've really crested the moon, because you're going to start the avalanche. And that's why I asked you to please look at that part of the blockchain, because I can't see it. So I've never asked you about your answer for looking at that, but I couldn't find it personally.
I did take a look around from those specific transactions you're talking about, and I'll be honest, right? I'm actually really good at reading the blockchain too. Including like the breakdown of a transaction. You know how you can go into the Solidity code and look at the breakdown of everything. And I looked at other wallets that maybe interacted with the wallets from the transaction list. I really was trying to be thorough, and I'll be honest, like you, I couldn't really find any outliers that would have led to any major sells thereafter. There was,
the problem that we're up against is that there's no, like, the smoking gun just isn't there for the prelude to that big sell, and it was unfortunately just followed with a narrative, and that narrative continued on beyond into live streams, and you seen that on your own live stream. That's where I got upset.
So, I'll say this. I mean, I will make changes to those two write-ups, as per what we've agreed.
I'm not asking you to change your partnerships and do things like that.
Oh no. What you want is fairly reasonable. You want the write-ups changed to reflect what the evidence supports, and that makes sense.
I'm just sick of it. Like in the preceding days when we did a account transfer, this was all written up in private between us to just be done with it. We're over it. We don't want to talk about it anymore. We've had enough. And then I just kept on hearing my name, and it's just like, seriously.
I mean, unfortunately,
that's where I send a message to Yanni again saying, just tell him to shut up. And yet Yanni's going, it's out of my control. And I said, well, you have the contract. And he's saying, yeah, but they just won't listen to me. And so, well, just tell them to shut the. There's nothing to gain for your protocol by just digging up bad shit all the time. Like, you don't have to keep on going over bad stuff. Like, seriously, you don't. Just let it go. Just let it go.
Yeah. And unfortunately, I will say, that part is out of my control too. Like I'm partnered,
I know.
I'm partnered with Oliver and Lucky and Yanni, and I do consider them all friends, and like, so I'm not gonna speak ill. I will say this, right? I do, I do think, Oliver should maybe at the very least have a heart to heart with you, so maybe you guys can bury the hatchet. I don't know if that's something you want to do. If not, whatever. But I agree with you that like talking about old hat drama from 4 months ago doesn't really help anybody. It doesn't help him, it doesn't help you, it doesn't help the project. It doesn't make anybody want to go buy one tokens. It's not, you know what I mean? It's old hat drama from months ago. It should just kind of be left to the annals of history, and that's that.
But that's why I brought it to your. I eventually decided to contact you and give you the shits about it because I just had enough of it. Enough is enough is enough.
I am
Just
curious. I am curious. How come, like, I've obviously, you approached me because, like, the Prosperity Truth Coalition, all that. I get that. How come you didn't approach, like, the guys from Pillars, like Mad Hatter? I'm just curious because, like, obviously they've had a bunch of AMAs with Oliver, and
because I haven't got there yet.
I see. Fair enough.
Like how many times do I really want to go through this in a short period of time? Not very many.
No, that makes sense.
I guess that if you give someone all of the shit like yourself to have a look at it, and then you've made your statement tonight saying that you had a thorough look at everything and you can't find, well, then surely they would listen to that and go, fair call, and say the same thing, that we'll give you the benefit of the doubt, because there obviously is doubt.
I will tell you, as a heads up, that Mad Hatter and David from Pillars, they have the same high standards of proof that I have. It shouldn't be a problem because obviously if you give them everything that you gave me, they can do their own thorough investigation and follow-ups with various people, and they will probably, as long as certain individuals are as honest with them as they were with me, that they'll come to the fairly same conclusion that you're not lying, and things happened, and though the picture isn't 100% clear because certain things can't be verified, but the picture is clear enough that the record needs to be altered to where an individual reading would walk away understanding what happened.
That's right. But whether I ever do or not, I'm not really too fussed. I just may be giving you a hard time. I don't know.
Yeah.
Just maybe you're just like, one thing that I was looking at doing is the potential of some sort of forming between CAF and PTC. But I wouldn't do that with shit hanging over my head. With Mad Hatters, it would be a different thing, because as far as I'm aware, there isn't a project that I would be. I don't know what they're doing. I don't know.
The Pillars is just a DeFi AMA host. That's what they are. But then they're not running a project though, are they? So no, how like how PTC does a side thing where we do AMAs as a service, but that is a side piece of the project. For Pillars, that is their project. They are AMA hosts. They bring in projects as guests, and then the guests talk about their projects, and everybody in Pillars goes to their projects, and that's it. That's literally what Pillars is.
Personally, I probably couldn't care less about that, because it's not really a project. Because it's not a project thing. See, I would be interested in having getting information and having some sort of inter-business cooperation type thing. You call it partnerships. I don't need to be that formal, but I would like to
Collaboration is another term.
I'm sure there's things that you can help me with. There might be something, who knows, probably nothing, that I could feed a car for you or something. But
I don't know,
it's
man.
just
We can,
what you can give them. Like for instance, I need help with NFT stuff. With not the NFTs per se or what they do, but getting the purchasing app thing on. So you can buy them and stuff. That's the bit that I have trouble with. And
you're talking about the front end. You're talking about
that's
front
right.
end.
And yet you might have people that you've got that can help with that sort of stuff.
I do.
That it can see a project like mine and go, okay, I'm not going to charge a fortune for him because of what he does. Obviously that what I've got to do, I've got to pay for. And obviously I have limited funds, but that kind of thing is obviously I'm being selfish when I'm saying that, because I could say I could, use you to get that sort of help for calf,
No, that's not selfish. That's networking, my friend. Never confuse networking for selfishness.
Yeah, but that's one of those things where I know that you could be. But that's different than the pillars. The pillars is advertising. Advertising. I don't need that as such, but I need some help with the front end stuff.
I can tell you this, right? I'm not going to betray confidence of any projects, but several projects have come to me, especially as of recently, asking for help because, one of the things I did in my time over the course of running PTC is I did a lot of networking. And obviously one of the good things is, like, because of my affiliation with Warfi and running Warhaven, my other project, I already had a lot of contacts from there, but I've made other contacts, like in the XRPL community. I know at least a dozen developers from there. I know several developers on the BSC side in that community. You know what I mean? Like, if you wanted a developer who was willing to work with you on your budget, I could name 6 right now who would be who would be willing to work with somebody who has a low budget and find a good work relationship. I could easily do that.
The cause for the Calves NFT is run on Third Web, and I have the dashboard and everything, and I can see how I can launch it and all of that, but trying to fill in the information to launch something is the bit where I just fall over. I don't know, like that bit just gets too hard. Yet it's apparently not that hard to do. Like, it's simple enough to do, but like for someone that's not into any sort of Web3 stuff, it's bloody hard to do it, Yeah. And when you're dealing with people's money, the last thing you want to do is make mistakes.
Right. And this is why I always say, like, it's better to have a developer who's front and back end certified.
Yeah.
Because here's the thing, right?
Want them stealing your funds.
No, well, that's where the whole trust. That's where the whole trust.
That happens a lot with NFT stuff.
Yes, it does. That's why having trustworthy developers that come recommended is very. But no, you want to have
point now of wanting to talk to you.
Yeah, well, no, having a developer that is qualified is very important for the other reason that, like, for example, could I, in theory, have built the OG NFTs that are being minted in my community right now? Because I have a fair amount of experience in Solidity, right? Yeah, I probably could have learned more, fucking bashed my head against the wall enough to build the DApp and the smart contracts. Here's the problem. I am shit at quality assurance, and that means checking code and testing code on the testnet. I'm fucking terrible at QA. I'll be the first to admit it. So what would probably happen in that scenario is everything would be built and then it would fucking break. And when you're dealing with somebody's money, that's completely unacceptable. So QA is like half the battle when it comes to developing the front and back end stuff.
And the challenge is like at the moment, Third Web's done an update because me little DAP thing shows up it brings up a antivirus error, and so it
Yep.
doesn't show it.
Yep.
And they've updated it. They're working with Microsoft or whatever, so it fixes it because it
Yep.
happens on their browser. And but the thing is, when things go wrong, it's on me. I've got to try and come up with the answers, and yet I'm not, like, nearly always the case. So thank goodness it's just that. But yeah, it's just that's the one element that I'm lacking on. But of course, like being a small project on small stuff, like the last thing I want to do is to outlay big money to try and do small things, because otherwise it's all just gone. But it's the spirit of it more than anything. You really want someone who wants to do it as a hobby type thing, happy to get something for it, but not the world for it. You know what I mean? Because that's the sort of developer that I need, who's someone that actually just can whip this thing up, not steal the funds, and because it just happens so much in this space where they put malicious code in and end up taking funds.
I will tell you this, right? I'll tell you this. I have a rule in my project, okay? And this is why we haven't had any liquidity pools, okay? And the rule is any code that comes out has to get inspected first, right? Like even PXA V1, right? I inspected it. Now the problem wasn't that it has malicious code; it has broken code in the taxes. That's my fault because I deployed the contract. So fair is fair. But like, for example, when the staking contract for our first for POH staking first came out 2 months ago, right? Before that thing was even deployed on the main net, even after Strix, our developer, who I trust very much so, even after he did the testnet testing and showed that it worked, right? I had 2 other developers that I know go through the contract, not because I think Strix is an asshole or that he pulled liquidity on us, right? No, but I had to make sure 100% that there was absolutely no fucking funny business and that there was no broken code. It was more to do with broken code, but cover your bases, right? So that's how you prevent liquidity drains and glitches.
But that's where the networking comes in handy, like you were saying, like you've really got to be networked with the right people.
You go to another developer and you go like, hey, you got an hour? Yeah, I'll tell you what, I'll give you $50. You go through this smart contract code that I'm about to deploy and tell me if it looks good or not, right? You slip them 50, they go look at it, they come back an hour or two later and they tell you it's fantastic. All right, fantastic, we're deploying, right? Easiest fucking job in the world is QA as far as that goes. It's just that it's time consuming. It's easy, but it is time consuming.
but that's the angle to why I wanted to have a communication with you, because you're always there in the background as someone that has these networked with people. And I could see, and of course Andrew keeps giving me shits about it, where I know you have these contacts, but I'm sort of in this position where I kind of need to have some contacts extra myself, because it's one aspect that I keep falling over on, is having that last little bit. The artwork and stuff, no problems, that's done. But the issue is just getting the code and setting the dollars, and just mint them and have the wallets ready to accept them, so people, and then of course the front end, so people can connect wallet and then do the transaction. That stuff. It's not much, but it's everything.
Right. No, and you want to have that seamless experience. You need what you need is a full stack front and back end certified developer. That's what you need. And those are fairly simple to come by. So we can definitely talk about that in private. I can give you some recommendations to a few good people, but I will say this. Be prepared to pay at least a few $100s, because any developer I recommend, even the ones that are willing to work with somebody with a budget, they're going to ask for at least a couple hundred.
Yeah, that's fine.
And that's up front, right? Like let's say,
I'm not
let's
that
say,
much of a tight ass.
yeah, let's say, you say, hey, I'll give you 300 up front, and then the rest will come out of the pre-sale, right? I know at least a dozen developers that would make that deal in a heartbeat, because right now we're in a fucking bear market and work is hard to come by. So if you make that deal, like I slip you a few hundred and I give you the other fucking 1,000 or whatever out of the pre-sale, square. All is square, man. So,
Kevin, this question was for you. Is the gentleman with you Canadian?
No, I am not Canadian. I will kill you.
I am from the Canadian.
I am from the great state of Massachusetts in the United States of America, the greatest nation on earth. God damn it. I always get confused for a Canadian.
I know. It's so funny how you've got that bit of an accent where you're almost like Canadian. And
it's funny because what's funny is I have no Canadian ancestry. Half of my family is from Ireland and the other half is from Portugal. I am half Irish and half Portuguese. Zero fucking Canadian or French ancestry. Zero.
Well, Ellie, who asked the question, she's over in Greece at the moment. So we've got people from the States. Leon's from in US, in Washington. No, Virginia, I think it is.
Yep.
Then Vulcan Maniac. I can't. Geez, I should know where Vulcan Maniac's from. Gino's from Melbourne. Sophie Dad's Tasmanian, and Jason's from Victoria as well.
Oh yeah.
Or no, it might be New South Wales. Fuck, I can't.
But yeah, no, it's a running meme that I'm from Canada. It's been for years because I guess people say I don't hear it, but people claim I sound like I'm a Canuck. Yep, Ellie, I'm a Canuck. No, I'm not. It's a meme though. People meme on me all day that I'm a Canadian. I am not.
Just give him shit, Ellie. It's all good. It's funny.
Yeah, sure. Ellie, make more memes about Kevin being a Canadian. Do it. Leon Discord says that is hilarious, Kevin. Your Mass accent is very little. Listen, boy, I'm gonna go park my car. Nah.
So when you say you instead of sitting beside someone, you're sitting side by side or beside or whatever it is. Some Canadians say it in weird friggin' ways.
Yes, they do. The only Canadian like word I know that gets pronounced differently is a boot. About a boot. They say a boot. They say a boot. We say about.
And I think they're talking about footwear, like a boot. Yeah.
I'm on about this. They'll say wear a boot about this. Oh shit. Oh man.
No, it's obviously been good talking to you, Kevin. Thank you very much for joining and
no problem at all.
The people that are going to sit through 2.5 hours of live stream. Good luck to you.
I'm sure a few will. The people are insane on the internet.
We've talked about all variety of different topics.
Yep.
And so I have only been to New York State, so I wanted to go to California, Maui, and I want to swim with the whales. Well, I'm stuck in Australia. I'm on this island.
I will tell you, Ellie, California is not what you think it is. The dream vacation you've been sold of Cali just behind that is the horrors of a liberal run state that is
That's all I
failing.
keep on hearing is the trash and the homeless and
the
it's
shit
just,
on the sidewalks and
yeah.
everything. It's bad. Like I would tell you to go look up some videos of San Francisco or LA and just pay attention to the background. Don't even listen to the dude who's talking, who's doing the walking around. Like, you can mute that and just look at all the closed businesses and the shit on the sidewalk and the homeless encampments on the sidewalks. And listen, I've been to Cali. I can tell you that is real and it's widespread. It ain't even just the major cities. It's everywhere. It's not so much in the suburbs. Like, you might find that less in the suburbs in a certain part of the state, but anywhere where there is like a lot of people, even in the smaller cities, it's fucking everywhere.
Leon's been everywhere over America. I wonder what he has to say about that, because he's well traveled, and Leon's traveled the world under the water as well, because he's a submariner. He's been in the submarines, but he never went to the bottom like at the Titanic, and obviously he's here. He went down in a proper submarine, I think.
Now he can. We can go see the Titanic and the Titan. I know, too soon. Too soon. Those poor bastards.
Yeah, well, it boom like that so quick, like you wouldn't even know what's happened. Like, obviously, you might get a few creak, and then bang.
Also, I love how nobody pointed out the irony of that. Like, what? Damn, man, the Titanic. A submersible that the company and the CEO claim was indestructible, cannot be broken. Not even God himself could break this submersible, and it fucking implodes.
Whenever anyone says things that just don't correlate with reality, you've got a hollow space inside a shell. Of course, there can always be something happen under some circumstance that Leon would probably be able to vouch for this, where you get pressures that can make it so it fails. Like,
but they said the same thing 110 years ago about the Titanic.
I know that it's unsinkable. Yeah, I know. It's just like,
and now both of those things are sitting at the bottom of the fucking ocean. Well, the Titan isn't. They did bring back the scraps, but I'm sure there are pieces at the bottom of the floor still.
I know, it's just ironic how it works out like that, though, isn't it? Like,
it is. You know, when
it's just claims that aren't based on reality. Like, things fail. Like, it's just,
oh man,
what it does.
Yeah.
I shoveled snow in Toronto for 6 months. There you go.
That's fun. Oh. There's a Scottish thing embedded in the Canadian accent. That's got to be what it is. That's got to be what it is.
And it's like on their beaches and stuff. You can have these really sort of touristy, picturesque places, but now it's just homeless camps with all their tents and stuff now.
Right. It's kind of like, people understand this, right? I always make the comparison. People nowadays think of New York, right? And they think of the crime, the, rampant homelessness and the high taxes and the awful government, right? But that wasn't always the case. If you scroll the clocks back like 20, 30 years, the same way people have this picturesque idea of California, people had this picturesque idea of New York as the Big Apple, and you can go make your dreams come true in the Big Apple. You can go, you can go become a Hollywood star in New York or make a career there, right? And like, obviously now we all grow up and that fucking thing that's done, right? Like, New York is terrible, awful.
but the color blue seems to be a rather familiar trait that there is,
Yeah.
I don't know why, but blue just seems to make that happen.
It does.
It degrades the place. I'd go figure.
Yeah.
Yeah, Ellie lives in half the year in the UK. Yep.
It's all this bloody money printing and debt. Yes, it is. Don't worry. The Federal Reserve has this perfect idea how to solve it, and it's called FedCoin. And FedCoin is going to definitely solve everything by taking away everyone's rights, but I won't get into that.
That's they want to do the same thing here, where they've got the government issued, digital currency.
Yeah, the CBDCs.
That's also does your eye scans and stuff for your ID and shit like that. So in other words, you've got social systems to allow you to social credit scores that allow you to buy or not buy and all this.
Oh yeah. No, like I explained this to
the same shit's happening here too, mate. It's the same thing. Don't worry.
I explained this to a group of college students fairly recently. And they were all horrified by it because they thought I was being facetious, but I showed them I showed them the Fed website on FedCoin. I showed them ISO 20022, World Economic Forum. I showed them all of it, and they're like, "What does this mean?" I'm like, "What it means is that financial freedom and that financial privacy you would enjoy with your fiat that you keep trashing is going to go bye-bye. Also, your ability to transact with the system while talking trash about the government is also going to go bye-bye. You'll have to make a choice. Either you choose to shut your mouth and not say anything about the government ever again, or you choose to be blacklisted and go starve to death with your family. You see how that works?
Yep.
Yeah, that's terrible.
But that's the same thing here, and like in Australia, they're bringing in this the Department of Truth now.
Yes.
And so they're censoring what goes in the media as well, or trying to get it anyway. So who's the adjudicator of truth?
Exactly.
Well, guess who? The government,
Exactly.
And so they get to present what they believe is a truth. When we've all seen it in COVID, that it's they're so far from reality. It's
reality, yeah.
And it's just like far out, man. Like it's just there's one thing that you could imagine I really hate, and that's being squashed under the thumb. I really hate being felt repressed, like I'm in a socialist or a communist society, even though I've never been in a communist, but I hate the mere thought of being under like suppressed, where I just can't do the
do you want to know
I want to do, like.
Do you want to know what really gets me is I've explained this to people because I've actually done the research on this stuff, right? What we live in right now, right? And pardon me for saying this, but what we live in is an American imperialist worldview, okay? And that is the idea that all countries handle their own businesses, and do their things, right? Now, the reason it's called American imperialism is because America is kind of like the front man, and we just kind of help everyone keep the fucking peace. And I'm not saying it's perfect. The whole system has its fucking flaws, and there are abuses, right? But at the end of the day, everyone kind of does their thing, right? And we all square, and individual freedoms are more or less left intact in most countries that subscribe to this worldview. And then you have the other prevailing worldview, which is fucking communism. Communism has no care for individual freedom because for the greater good of the collective, individual freedoms must be sacrificed. And you have to lay claim to all natural resources, because all natural resources, as you know, must be used for the greater good of social progress, because that's the other core tenet of communism, is constant societal progress, which means resources must be used for that purpose and that purpose alone. And once you exhaust all of the natural resources in a given area, such as the country that subscribed to this insidious fucking worldview, you have two choices. You can either trade for more resources, or you can take them by force. And historically, we know which one they go for. They go by force.
Yeah,
which
but
means
as
war.
you know, you try and buy a farm in China, and look how much of your farmland's getting bought up in the States, let alone here in Australia.
Yeah.
Like, what do you think's happening? Food security, it's being dominated. It's you're losing it. It's piece by piece.
But yeah, I mean that's really where we're heading. Is we're heading for we're heading towards an inversion point where either American imperialism is going to prevail and the world is going to continue, albeit there's going to have to be some changes made, or we're all going to be fucking in communist countries, in a communist superpower like China or Russia is going to be the new front man. And you really don't want the second one. You really don't want the second one.
No.
Even if you fucking hate America, you really don't want the second one.
No, that's the way it is good, but I just don't like the way which individual countries are just trying to really push on this censorship and suppress us into being essentially being conformed into, like the test run was during COVID, where they imposed all of these conditions like the lockdowns and travel bans and stuff like that. Like, they tested it all out to see the conformity of the society, and guess what? A lot of people conformed. They were either forced to do it, or they just chose to do it, and most people chose to do it
Ellie says, unless you eradicate death, you can't have real freedom and also choice of asset holding. Fiat equals forced bag hold generational debt. You have to stop looking at fiat in the 20th century context, Ellie. Fiat today is a medium of exchange for assets that don't have inflation or generational debt, as you say. For example, if I take $100 bill, right, in American money, or any money, it could be Aussie dollars, it could be the British pound, it could be a euro, right? Doesn't really matter. Any national fiat currency with a lot of debt. Right, I take $100 and I buy Bitcoin with it. Well, what I've done now is I've exchanged my useless fucking debt-ridden inflated dollars for Bitcoin, and now I no longer hold generational debt. So fiat is a medium of exchange for assets. That is its function, at least for now, until they get rid of them. Which is why they want to get rid of them, because they realize that fiat is no longer under the control of the government. You can take your fiat and you can go buy stuff that will help you generate generational wealth rather than just having generational debt. And you can do it easily, very easily. Takes 2 seconds to make a Coinbase account and verify it, or whatever exchange you want to use. And then you can go offload that shit to a self-custody wallet or a hardware wallet, and you're good to go. So,
yeah.
But exactly. We've been on for like 2 hours and 40 minutes. I do have to do some stuff today, but I will get around to later on today, my time, obviously, making some edits to those two things in our server, and you'll probably be asleep by the time I send those over to you. But when you wake up, you and me can DM and we'll bang that out.
And I'll promise I won't snap your head off. All right. It's okay.
All right. It's okay, man. I get it.
But I think that you've learnt enough from this to put two and two together and realise that you can sort of justify why I wasn't really that happy. So
No,
that
no.
I don't need to go further than that, but I think you get what I mean.
Yes,
So
yes.
so it's all
My
good. I get
my
it.
advice to you, and I'll probably mention it to Oliver. I really think you two should bury the hatchet in such a way that, like, guys come to a better mutual understanding. I know you already tried, clearly, but I think, you guys should have a talk, even if you never remain friends again, right? And you don't fix that part. At the very least, you guys, because we're all adults here, you guys can have a mutual understanding of, like, look, I'm not
Yeah.
going to say anything about you. Please stop talking about me. Everything's good. We'll move on. We're professionals, and that'll be that, you know? So, but
I'm sure along the line they'll get this, they'll crack the shits, and then they'll be all good again. So we'll see what happens.
sounds good, brother. Sounds good. I will talk to you later. All right.
But at the end of the day, just life goes on. Like it's seriously like we don't need to just keep on going over same stuff all the time.
No,
And
we don't.
like
No.
we're all just projects that are trying to exist in a space. Just let it be. Let everyone just do their thing. To like you don't have to try and hog every customer there is out there for your thing, and just realize that we all got to coexist to some degree and move on. Like we're all just people doing our thing, and that's like we're not. None of us like if you spoke to any one of us individually, none of us are bad people per se. Like we're just doing our thing for our projects and whatever, like, but just
I get you, man.
just
I'll
be more normal.
yes, absolutely.
But yeah, that's the thing I'm after, though, is obviously, to talk further about the business side of stuff, of course, but
Yeah, and we
that's
can
all.
certainly
But
do that.
yeah,
We
yeah,
can
yeah.
certainly
All right.
do that.
No worries. Well, thank you very much for your support and your interview and everything. I'm sure that it wasn't as painful as what you might have been fearing, but
I didn't think we were gonna have an internet scuffle. I think
no,
I think I think internet scuffles
I
are
never
about
do that.
10,
No, I'm not
10 years.
interested.
I did that back when it was fucking still something
Yeah,
people watched, but it's
yeah.
it's dead.
No, definitely not interested in anything like that. All right,
Yes.
no worries. So just remove yourself when you've said your last words.
All right. Yes. Thank you, everybody, for listening to me. It was good to come on here and talk to Keith, and I'm glad we worked out everything. And it was fun to talk about all these various subjects. Maybe we'll do one in the future, Keith. Who knows? I'll talk to you tomorrow, buddy. I know it's late for you. I got some stuff to do. Thanks, everyone. Bye bye.
Thank you. Cheers. Well, there you go, everyone. Hopefully, yeah. I'm sure you can all read between the lines to what that was all about. Obviously, there was a few issues that I just wanted to clarify, and you've heard it from someone that looked at all of the evidence presented, and it is what it is. Like, as I always said, and I said it on the live stream that night, that no one has actually done anything wrong. It's just the market forces. I know that there was like they were driven to an agenda, but it doesn't matter. The point is that nothing actually happened. G'day, Daniel. Don't like I've been here for nearly 3 hours. Don't tell me you're going to come online. Now, if you look back at the last 30 minutes of my live stream, Daniel, you'll see some communication which is relevant to. Well, it's not. I spoke to you at the beginning of my live stream, but it was basically to do with what happened with one So the information was presented to, because Kevin did a live stream ages ago with Oliver, and I wasn't very happy with what he had done, and I let it go for a few months, but I decided to bring it up with Oliver, with Kevin White from PTC, and so I showed him the sort of evidence and stuff like that of what happened, and he looked through it, and can't. That's not it. Can't find anything because there is nothing. It's just what it is. Look, I'll entertain you for a minute, okay? Don't give me a hard time though, Daniel. All right? You know, I've had a long night now. Where is he? There he is. I'm going to have to change the headline. You're driving home now. There you go. Hey, Daniel, you got to. I'll post this comment here that was said ages ago. I'll just replace this word here. It says, very interesting conversation with Prado. Nice to hear a very positive adult discussion. There you go. All right. So, g'day, Daniel.
I heard you saying, "Don't give me a hard time, Daniel." I'm like, what am I going to do? I'm not going to do anything to you.
bloody hell, man! I've been on here for 2 hours 46 minutes. What do you expect?
My goodness! Oh, let's make it a clean 3 hours, and then we'll be done.
Oh God!
Yeah, just bloody a couple more minutes here. That's it.
So
what are you going on here for hours? What are you talking
about? What news company do you work for?
I work for NBC.
NBC. So is that good? Is it good to work for them or not?
Yeah, I mean, it's just like any other job. I mean, I just go, I'm just out.
You do realize their executives are watching this, don't you?
Yeah, they're all watching right now. Yeah, I mean, listen, it is a different job for sure. I mean, because I'm out. Like I just met Fran Drescher just now. Like that just happened. I just interviewed her for the Straight. You guys remember that show, The Nanny? She was the star of that. But they're on strike. The SAG-AFTRA is on strike, and she's
we've actually got that in the news here too.
Yeah, so she was I just interviewed her, and it was me actually doing it, and but it's not for me, it was for the station, and I fed it back, and I'm done for the day, so I'm on my way home. And then I saw you on, and I'm like, let me say hi. I didn't know you were on for 3 hours, though. That's not
Yeah, no.
I saw you were on yesterday too, but I didn't get a chance to listen.
Yesterday was a big show though. Yeah. Yesterday was a big show. There was a lot going on yesterday.
What was it?
It's kind of funny how I was like, I had Alex who's doing work behind the scenes with Justice Token, and then I also had Chris Cruz on for a while as well. So there was, we obviously were talking a lot about the Vulcan stuff and what Nick's doing, and all those things to do with that. And he's sounding rather positive about, like I hear it in his temperament, in his voice, where he's sounding quite positive about, what's sort of happening with the new, with the vote or whatever to go to Vulcan. Obviously it's going to change names. And then of course the other guy was doing his live stream and forgot to turn his mic on. And so there was quite a few people in my comments pulling the piss out of that because they thought that was pretty funny. 10 minutes with no mic. That's pretty good. Your other mate.
Who? I don't know which one you're talking. There's a whole bunch of people that do live.
The other guy. Oh, well, I'm not allowed to mention his name to you anymore. The other guy. The
former guy.
The former guy. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So he did it. He started off with no mic. Okay.
Yeah. 10 minutes. Over 10 minutes with no microphone.
Oh my gosh.
And because he's not reading all the FUD comments in his live stream, he couldn't see your sound's not on. So,
yeah, I only caught like a very glimpse of it because when I was done with what I was doing yesterday, I spoke to I just did a Q&A for myself, just anybody that has questions. People were asking about Vulcan and the rebases, things like this. Whatever you wanted to ask was what it was for. I came out and there's Mrs. Worldwide, and there on the screen is the former guy with his crunched up hoodie, and I was like, "What the is this?"
I know.
And she was like, "Oh, somebody said he mentioned you today. So I wanted to see what he said." And I was like, "Oh, yeah, okay." But I didn't see any. I didn't watch any of it though.
What he's, I've seen too much of it. But what he said is he's looking for a YouTuber like Daniel Prado, that's full on has that passion. As you always showed. You had that passion. It's very hard to replicate that though. To find someone that's so. And I know you freely admit it yourself. I know you got tickets on yourself, but it's true. You were really, really into
I was gung ho, brother. I was in for it. Yeah, I was like I said, I've said it a million times. I fell for it, hook, line, and sinker. You know what was it? What was it that got me? And I've mentioned this before, but not maybe not here on your channel. But it was literally the first live shot that he ever did. Remember when he put out the video? I don't know if it was live or if he just put out the video of him screaming into the camera that he's not a scammer and he really is Brian Legend. And then he showed his ID and I'm just like, wow, this guy's serious. And I really bought into that. And I don't know if you remember watching me on multiple live shots where I would be like, I'm telling you guys, he's not going to scam us. Can you how dumb can he be? His name is everywhere. His face is everywhere. He's on magazine covers, the whole 9 yards. Who on earth? Why on earth would he ever do something you know what I mean? I took all of that so to heart because it's true. It's why on earth would anybody ever put themselves through something like that? I thought it would have been the dumbest thing that you could possibly do. And there was no way that he was that dumb, right? But it turns out I was completely and utterly wrong. And yes, he did do all of that stuff and screwed all of us. So yes, I completely have to eat all of that, but it is what it is. That's the reason why, though. That's the heart of it all right there, Keith. The fact that you just cannot make this stuff up. Right, the guy's on freaking magazine covers, articles written about him. Why on earth would he ever do something like this? It would have never been something that I ever would have thought happened. And there it is. He does it anyway. It's just you can't make this up.
It's just amazing. Even your recollection of the past is so accurate because you were really and it's it totally cracks me up because you're so invested in the actions of someone else, and the problem is that other person's actions just went across onto you so much, as though you're guilty, and because you were oh shit, man! It's so hard to be in that position, and that's why I've always laughed to you because it's obviously it's always tongue in cheek, but you got thrown under the bus so fucking hard. Seriously,
I mean, but it's I'm hoping that it starts to calm down a bit with all the others that are continuing to throw me under the bus. I'd like for that.
Yeah.
But because the reality is that it was him that did it, not me. But I keep on saying that it'll come to a stop at some point. We'll all be able to move on. But can you just? Well, I mean, it's hard for me right now because of so much that's going on, and
I know.
Then CoffeeZilla puts out a video that I'm screaming about what this, that, and the third, and it was out of context, obviously, but you know, that was that's still something that was out there that's being used against him. So.
Has he released a video?
Well, no, he put it out on Twitter. He tweeted. Oh. Not yet. No, he tweeted out a video of me saying, "What the is CoffeeZilla going to do?" And what that was portraying was as if I'm saying that he's not going to be able to do anything about these guys scamming. That's not what I was talking about. I was talking about that day. I don't know if you've seen when I put that, but what that was about was the fact that we were not getting taxes anymore on the nodes. And I was saying, what's CoffeeZilla going to do about getting the taxes for us? That's what I was talking about when I said that. But of course, it doesn't look like that, you know.
That's what it was about. Of being able to edit, you know, like take a snapshot of what it is, you know, like that happens. Guess what? You're in the news business. You know, like you see it all the time. You know, where things can be portrayed in a different way to suit a narrative or an agenda, which is other than what it actually did happen. You know, and that's what I was going through with Kevin tonight. That's why he came on the live stream.
Yeah, to clear the air. What was that about? What is this Kevin thing? Like, I don't know anything about it. Can you explain it to me? I'm sorry, I don't know what you mean.
No, Kevin White runs PTC. What's their PTC is? I've
been in touch with Kevin White. He wanted me to do something with him with the worldwide token too. So.
Oh yeah. Well, yeah. Of course you're in touch with him. Yes, of course. I see that on your Discord, right? Well, he runs PTC, which is Prosperity Truth something, right? Don't ask me what the name is because I don't know. I tried to look it up just then on their Discord, and all I got is PTC. So. Yeah, whatever. Prosperity Truth Coalition. There you go. But they were involved in a rug pull in a former project, and he was one of the few, or if not the only, that got some revenue out of the person who did the rug pull. And so he set up PTC to help support people that got rugged. You know, he copped a lot of FUD for a long time, a lot of same sort of stuff, you know, like because he got something, obviously everyone shat on him for a long time. And yeah, you know, obviously the rest of the story, you ask him. But he runs a stage doing interviews with people. And a few, you know, those interviews have been like with Oliver, for argument's sake, from One Token. Not long after the incident when we split up from One Token, and then Oliver had put on their accusations about me rugging One, and so after all of this time, I decided to, because in PTC Discord there's 2 write-ups in there, which I'm not very happy with, which is, I'm just going to it now so I can see it's in. Oh, geez, it's not going to let me go. My phone's done stupid shit, so it's not. There's interviews or something, project interviews channel, and it's got a write-up in there of that says Keith and his son, you know, pulled liquidity and whatever, and just the typical FUD line, right? Bullshit line. And so after 3 months, I decided, right, I'm going to have a talk to him about it. And so I had a chat to Kevin about it and presented him the evidence that I had. And he then went and spoke to Lucky Charms and to Oliver and confirmed some information and came to the conclusion that there was definitely nothing happened. I didn't do anything. And essentially that no one is to blame because it was perfect. It was just normal market forces. I know it was market forces with an agenda, but it doesn't matter. It was just tokens that were sold. There was nothing happened to liquidity. Nothing happened to my tokens. Nothing happened to Oliver's tokens. It was just what it was. So he's rewriting them now to correct the record because he sees that the record was wrong and it shouldn't have been presented that way. And that back in the day, apparently, because my main thing, because he runs a stage, when you're presenting evidence, so-called evidence or words against someone, you should really do some due diligence by talking to the person that's going to get accused of something to at least mount a defense or have an opportunity to mount a defense. And I was never given that privilege. And so they had the stage and they presented this speculation of what my actions were, and which has been completely unfounded because there's no evidence of it because I didn't do it. It doesn't exist. And
but you ended up talking to him though, and you were able to clear it up with him though, today, just now during this show.
On this live stream, yeah. And so that's what I mean. Just
go
back up about half an hour or so and have a look at what he says. I don't have a timestamp on it, but it'll be like 2 hours something into it, where we'll just talk a general shit prior to that. That's all just stuff that'll be no interest to you. But anyway, but he's a good fair bloke, he just does what he does. But the thing is, when you run a stage, you run a stage, I run a stage. When you're having an interview like this, and you would say, for argument's sake, you were going to rag on someone, when I would at least you could push back. As a host, you could say, look, seriously, this is unfounded. We don't know. You do this quite a bit on your stage that you're not sure, this is unproven. We don't know, but unfortunately on his stage, that wasn't done. And that's where I got a bit annoyed because I didn't do any pushback and didn't give me, the right of reply. Or the due diligence to investigate in the first place. But apparently he spoke to you not long after, trying to track me down. Not that I went anywhere, because I've always existed, doing me thing.
No,
but
apparently he didn't say anything. He didn't say anything. You're talking about Kevin.
Time. Yeah, that was ages ago, but apparently
he never said.
Busy.
He never.
Yeah,
I didn't talk to him about you. I didn't talk to him about you. No, that's right. When we spoke, he was asking me about the worldwide token and possibly doing something together.
Before that. No, this is 3 months ago. This is he had a chat to you or something. But I don't know. It's just what I was told. Whether it's true or not, I don't know. It doesn't matter. But that was the limited due diligence, that's all. And that's why I sort of got a bit annoyed. And he then looked it up and gone through the evidence trail of what we're able to provide and realized that I didn't do anything wrong. And so it just is what it is, and because it was so funny that night because even Brian was dragged into it with getting BSC scans to show stuff, which showed what? It didn't show anything. It was just all crap. But it was just whatever, just let it go. I just want the FUD talk to stop. And like what you are, you just want the FUD talk to stop because you didn't do anything, so you just want it to stop. And that's why I chased him up about it because I'm just sick of it. I've had enough. And so eventually I've decided to push back a little bit. No longer just being the farmer that's letting it roll off. I'll just push back a little bit. And so that's why I decided.
Well, do you feel better about it now? Do you feel better?
Yeah, no, it's good. Yeah, no, it's good. Yeah. No, okay. It was good. All what right, he good. Said was really good.
I'm going to have Nick. Really good. I'm going to have Nick on again today.
Are you? Righto.
Nick Kalyani. Yeah. And it's not going to be for a long time. He spent a lot of time with those guys last night. They're over 3 hours, a little over 3 hours. And
don't talk about Weld. You'll get told off for shilling it.
No, it's just crazy. I the one time after the AMA that I had with him, that was a planned event where I said, I'm going to talk to you about the worldwide token afterwards because I want to show you what we're building that we're going to put on the blockchain. And he was like, yeah, no problem. I'd love to see it. So that's why. But I only spent like 10 minutes on it. People made it look like I was out there doing the entire show about it. It was like an hour of questions, 10 minutes of, hey, look at our project. And then we were done. That was it. It was annoying. I was like, bro, really?
it's only what I've heard on your Discord, which was what you just said there, and it was like I was just laughing at it, like, "You serious?" Like it's just like.
I swear to God, if you look at it, I went right into it. I was like, Nick, let's get right into it. We've got these questions that have come in, blah, 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 blah. I had them all lined up. You know what I mean? Anytime a new question came in, I made sure I had it put to the side. I went through all the questions. It was just about a little over an hour. And I was like, hey, do you mind now if we could take a look at the worldwide token? I just want to show you what we're building. We went through it. It was maybe 10 minutes. And then I was like, Nick, I know you're busy, brother. I know you got to go. So thanks for coming on. And then that was it. And then we ended the show. And then I got people saying, like that I was shilling my coin the entire show. I was like, bro, that's not what happened. That's not what happened. But I'm not going to talk about that today because today I'm going to, if when he's done, people ask me questions about the worldwide token, I will answer them. But when he's on, it's going to be, I'm not going to have him on for a long time because what he's coming on for today is to literally just talk about the rebase sheet. And I'm going to ask him about the node sheet. Did you see that came out as well? Did you see that node sheet?
Yeah.
I don't understand it. It looks like we're not getting anything, basically. I don't know what that means. Maybe I'm looking at it wrong, but I just want to talk to him about explaining line by line what that sheet does.
You kind of need to. You got 4 of them now for your worldwide, so you definitely want to clarify, don't you? Like.
I do, yeah, because nodes have always been, pretty good money makers for owners of them. But I'm not sure how this is going to go. I really don't know. So I wanna ask him about it and see what that sheet means. Because if you go to my Discord, you'll see others are saying too. Yeah, I saw the sheet. I have no idea. It's so confusing. I don't know what it says. And I'm like, yeah, I can't help you. I looked at it and I'm like, that's it.
So as a community vote, I know they started it. Has it been finished?
No, it's finished on Saturday. Okay. So all you do, and for people that are having a hard time connecting to it, this is what you do. You go to the link, you click on the link and you go to it. Then you go to the share button and you copy the URL. Then go to your wallet. Like don't click connect wallet, because it's not going to work for a lot of people. Just copy the URL, then go to your wallet, open up a browser in your wallet, and then paste it in there, then connect, and then you'll be able to vote. That's how you get over that problem that people are having. So.
Yeah, well, my biggest problem is that my wallet is on my old phone that doesn't work anymore.
Oh, no. Well, do you have do you have like the seed phrase and everything else? You have all that, right?
You would think I would, wouldn't you? So yeah, I've got to get it off to repairman and hopefully I can get into my phone. So I'll find out.
Yeah, but you don't have the.
No,
you don't have the seed phrase and all that stuff.
That's the problem, that it's been that long now, hasn't it? Like that's why I don't like the whole thing about being dragged out for so long. Like, because devices don't last and whatever, and it's just, just want to, not so much on that one. I have all the other stuff, but the seed phrases on everything else now, but not on my old Vulcan stuff. So we'll find out, won't we? We'll see. I'm sure I'll get to it one way or another.
Yeah, that's just don't let them wipe your phone, because then that's that.
Happens, that'd be a bit of a shit.
Just try to get it. All you got to do is get it on. Get it on. If you can get it turned on, forget about everything else. Just get to the wallet. Yeah. Get the seed phrase, write it down, and then also copy. If there's more than one wallet, you want to copy the key phrase. The key phrase.
That's it. Yeah.
So there's the key. There's that key that you have to because from like if you put in the seed phrase, then you're going to be able to get to that one wallet that opened it all. But if you made new wallets under that seed phrase, all of those you need the key code, the key phrase. with a bunch of numbers and letters all over. It's like it looks like a paragraph of just numbers and letters. You need that in order to open up all the other wallets. So if you have more than one wallet and there's stuff in there, if there's nothing in there, who cares? But if there's stuff in there, you want to, then once you have all of that, then you can just tell them to, trash the phone.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, because the phone itself works. It's just the screen is the only issue. So I'm sure they'll make it light up for me. I'll kick it around a bit and it'll work again. So usually on the farm, you just give it a knock and it comes back to life. Play football with it a bit and then it works again. Yep. And then quick, do what you got to do and then move on.
Right.
Like you said. Yeah. So how far you got to drive before you get to your destination?
47 minutes.
Yeah, right.
47 minutes, yeah.
So
yeah, I got I listened to different crypto news of the day from crypto banter to cryptos are us. I got your coin bureau, altcoin daily, all those guys come out, they make daily videos of the news of the day, and I just listen to that kind of stuff on the way home. Yep. But now I'm listening to you because we're on together.
So you can sound all smart and stuff.
That's right, yeah, so that I can figure out what's going on and then have an opinion on it when I go on, because people tune in. Although it's the audience has dwindled a bit now, hasn't it? But I know that people think that it's because of people. A lot of people think that it's because of all of this nonsense that's happened, but that really isn't it. Because I've gone through this before, and it's just a slow time. That's what it is. I think when things pick up, people will start watching because they're going to be interested in what's happening, what's the news of the day, and especially when the worldwide token releases, that's going to be something that people are going to want to hear about because there's going to be a lot of investors. I also am. We're going to be launching that in the next few days. We haven't announced the date yet, but it's going to be soon. And then when that happens, I'm also going to make other announcements that are going to excite a lot of people about how we're going to go about things to get more attention and things like this. And I think that's going to open people's eyes a lot. People that might be on the fence, like on the side of yes fence, they'll end up coming over and saying, you know what, yeah, this guy's for real. He's doing it the right way once they hear some of the other things that I have planned. Because all the things that I have planned as far as what the project is, I put it out there. And I should do that so that people know what they're getting into when and if they come over and join me. But what happens after that it has nothing to do with the protocol. It's about how am I going to promote it? Who am I going to talk to? Where am I going to put it? All that kind of stuff. I'm going to have different announcements to show people that, yeah, we are doing that. We're working on that, and it's going to happen. We're going to have marketing and all that stuff ready to go day one, the day after launch. So hopefully, we can get this off the ground smoothly. I don't think that there's going to be a problem with that because we are launching on big sale. Unlike that debacle that happened with the former guy with that other token and how horrible that went. I'm not doing anything like that. There is a limit for people to buy into, a minimum and a maximum, and then once it starts trading, we're gonna be off to the races here. So it's gonna be fun.
Yeah, no, it's I just. With the ESCO stuff, I just couldn't believe it because, like, how you go through these little epiphanies yourself, and like before the ESCO stuff happened, like I was so tempted to do something, but then in my heart of hearts, it was like, you're going to get set up. You're going to get set up. So I was like, no, and I forced myself no, and then guess what? I seen the shit happen. It was like. There we go.
Man, thank goodness for you. Wow.
And then on round two, I was thinking that, Then on round two, I was like, should I try? Should I? And then I was like, no. No, and I didn't. And then it was like, there you go. So it's like, thank goodness for that. So yeah, I dodged the bullet completely when it came to that. Yeah. So, but that was through good. Well, I know you could say good management, but also just good luck listening to your real self. You know, saying no, hold true this one time. Just don't get
good
greedy.
job, because you ended up saving yourself. I mean, $1.7 million in one shot was taken. $1.7 million. It's shameful. And we all know.
No, it's just, and that's the thing is that, you know, surely you're not going to do the same stuff. You know, that's why, you know, it's just, it needn't be said. And that's why you're not going to say it, because of course, you know, you're not going to do the same thing.
Like me doing that? No, of course not. I mean, like unless I want to ruin my name forever, like what he did, and I have no intention of doing that. And like maybe he's comfortable with that kind of a thing because he's got so much money.
I really think so, because like he just keeps on having a win after win after win of getting these, you know, big windfalls that he just doesn't give a stuff. Like it's just relentless, and it's like a drug. It's just addicted to just getting, you know, bigger returns. Like you said, 1.5 million or whatever in one go, and it was just like full on. I see you and Bob and mate.
I would.
Sorry, go on.
No, I was going to say, you know that I would never do something like that. That would be
I get that.
Suicide. I mean, it's just not. I mean, all I'm interested in, because I know that there's big money to be made for myself by going on and being successful for the people. The more you do for the people, the more you get back in return, and that's the route that I'm going. You know, I have zero interest in making the quick dollar now. It's going to make money for me. Don't get it twisted. But is it going to make me 1.7 million in one shot? No. I have zero interest in that kind of stuff, and I never will be. What I'm interested in is putting together something that everyone's going to benefit from, and because that happens, it you know, just sends me into a higher stratosphere money-wise, because that's the way things happen. It always happens that way. You know, so that's what I'm doing.
What's this I see you and Bob are made up?
Yeah, Bob. Well, we didn't make up. We just started being civil to each other. Really, is what it is, and it started more with him being civil to me, because at first, the story between me and Bob was, when I first encountered him, it was in my Discord, and he was just like he was like a machine gun with questions about the nodes. And like the questions were the same questions over and 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 over. And I was just like, oh my God. And so it got to the point where I got very frustrated with him. I was like, bro, you got to stop. Like, you keep on asking me the same things. It's just like ridiculous. And then it got to the point where I was just like, you know, this guy's here to fun. That's what he's here. Like, there's no way that, because he keeps on asking the same questions. I keep on answering him and he just keeps on saying the same thing. So I took it as fun. I was like, this guy's just trying to scare people. And I ended up banning him. It took a while for that to happen, though. But then after that, he tried desperately to come back, and he was always asking about me. And I was just like, I'm not going to give that guy any time of day, because all he's going to do is come back in here. And after a while, it got to the point where he became very, very pissed off at me, because I was not talking to him at all. I just would not give him any attention. And so he started saying really bad things about me, and you know, he would say things like really nasty, rude things. And I was just like, you know, I wouldn't pay him any mind. But then every once in a while, I would go into that Discord, the Broodfied Discord, and I would just cause havoc for like literally 30 seconds or a minute. I would go in there and I'd be like, you guys are the dumbest people on earth, blah, 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 blah. And I would just like shoot out all these insults and call Bob names. And then I would just leave. And they would be like, what the fuck? And then like the whole room starts going nuts in there. They're all talking to me, so they replying back to me, and I'm not even there. I don't care. I left. and it was like a good joke. We were laughing about it. It was something that me, Kryptonian and Greek and our legend, we were getting a good laugh about that, because I would literally go in there like a bomb and I would explode on all of them, and then I would just leave. And then it just kept on kind of going back and forth like that. And then one day, after all this stuff happened with the former guy, I was like, you know what? I'm going to go back in there, and I'm going to apologize to all those guys, because you know what? I think that they might have something here, because this Brian Legend, it was before the former guy imploded, by the way. I did this while he was fudding my project. If you remember, there was a time there for like 2 or 3 weeks where he just kept on saying all these nasty things about about the worldwide token. And I'm sitting there on my shows like, bro, what are you doing? All I've done is I've helped you out. You know, I've backed you up, and now you're talking all this crap about my project. And so I was getting frustrated with that. And one day I went into BroodFi and I said, look, I'm sorry about everything in the past, guys. I can see that there's a problem here, because I started to really, like, I already knew that there was a problem with the former guy for a long time now. But I started to really, it started to really sink in when he was fudding my project. I was like, what the f is this? So I ended up going in there. I apologized. Dave Fi, who's in there, that's like, he's one of the main guys there. Like, he's like Mike, only he's a different person, right? But they both run that Discord. And that dude was not having it at all. He was like, F you, dude, you're a joke, blah, 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 blah. Like, don't come in here. We already know that you're just here because you got a dumb project, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, no, that's not what it is, bro. Like, I'm really trying to be serious. I don't want to fight with you guys anymore. And I never went in there again after that, ever doing what I used to do, which was blast the entire place up into pieces. I would go in there literally and just like blow up on everybody and then leave. So what I started doing was I would go in there and I'd be like, hey, what's up, guys? Anybody have any questions for me about anything? You can ask. And they would just like bomb on me, like all of them, everybody in the room. And Dave Fi would be like, bro, you're a joke, blah, 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 blah. What are you doing here? Like, nobody wants you here, blah, blah, blah. And I'm just like, bro, I'm just trying to, you know, I'm trying to turn a new leaf. You know what I mean? And Bob was in there, you know, and Bob would be like, you know, he'd be kind of nasty, but then he started to see that I was coming in there, and I think Bob himself started to see, like, I'm coming in here trying to be nice to you guys. So then he started coming back at me in a nicer way. And so I ended up saying, look, I'm going to unban everybody. Everyone who was ever banned, come back to my Discord if you want. You can have a discussion. They came back, and Bob came back, and we ended up starting to hit it off a little bit. There was the first time he came back, I ended up timing him out indefinitely, because he came in and he was talking about how the nodes could be deleted and this, that, and the other. And I was telling him, no, that can't happen. And he was saying, yes, it can happen. And I was like, no, it can't. So we were arguing back and forth, and it just got to the point where I was like, you're scaring people too much. Yeah. But then he came back again. And since he's been back the last time, it's been about 2 or 3 weeks since he's been back in my Discord. He's been a lot better. Like, he hasn't been like, you know, hey, what's up, Prado? And, you know, the worldwide token's the greatest. He doesn't do that. He still asks questions, but he's a lot more inquisitive about it, instead of like destructive or critical in harmful ways. He's like, hey, tell me about your tokenomics. You know, like as an example, you know, like before it was more like, your project's gonna fail. You know, like what kind of stuff is this? A blacklist? Are you going to steal people's money because of this transfer thing that you have? Instead of that, it's more, tell me about your tokenomics. You know, where does the taxes go? What kind of stuff are you planning to buy? Where are you planning to use the buyback function, the buyback and burn specifically for that? Or are you planning to use that money also to buy into assets? Like, he's asking constructive questions. And, you know, critical questions, yes, but, you know, stuff that I can answer very, very easily and also informatively, as opposed to in a way that I'm like in a defensive way, you know, like what are you talking about? Like, why are you saying this? And avoiding his what used to be destructive patterns, you know. But he's not doing that anymore. So it started more with him being more normal. So I started to be more normal to him, and I kind of like him now. I think he's okay.
He is a good guy. He's a very, very good guy. But of course, you just hit it off on the wrong side. That's all. But it was mainly, it was.
I think we're just two people that have our beliefs, and
but
it is what it is.
Yeah, you'll be right. He's a good bloke. Anyway, guys, I'm seriously going to have to go because it's past 11 o'clock, and I'm past my curfew. So
you've been on Daniel, for quite a while, brother. 3 hours and 25 minutes. Look at you, brother. All by yourself. Too. Where's Chalk, by the way? She doesn't come on with you anymore. She's
no.
Sold you out, bro.
No, she had her closest friend die on her.
Oh no! Really?
Yes,
oh no! That's horrible.
Yeah.
Oh, tell her I said I'm sorry to hear that. My condolences go out there. That's terrible.
No, she'll be back. She supposedly is back on Friday, which is tomorrow. She needed.
Maybe I can join you guys tomorrow. What time do you usually go on? 9 o'clock at night. 8 o'clock at night.
Like 8 to 9 o'clock. Yeah, so 8 or 9 o'clock in the morning for you, something like that.
Yes, we're exactly 12 hours apart because it's 11:08 right now. It's 11:08 p.m. for you. It's 11:08 a.m. for me.
Yeah, that's right. We're just opposite.
Right. Right. Remember, you dig a hole and you were going to pop up in my yard. Remember?
Yeah. You better watch what you're doing, boy, because otherwise.
Yeah. All right, brother. Well, you get some rest, man, and we'll talk. We'll talk tomorrow. Let Chalk know that I hope to join you guys. Work gets in the way and all that stuff, but
Yeah, but apparently it was a so-called dearest friend, you would say. Like essentially like a mother to her 2 kids. So of course they were very, very distraught. So I'm allowed to tell you that information, but that's why she had to spend some time away doing a thing. So. It wasn't
because I was wondering. I'm like, he won, but not without Chalk for quite a while now.
Yeah,
so.
That's right.
All right. That's totally understandable.
Just a sequence of really bad events. That's all. Cancer is a bad thing. That's all. And it's just horrible. And unfortunately, that's what the deal was. So yeah. So anyway, thank you very much, Daniel.
No problem,
take care and be good. Cheers.
Sure. See you.
See you, mate. See you later, everyone. Thank you very much. Cheers. Love yous all. Thank you. I'm bombed out. It's too late. All right. Take care. Good night, everyone.